Chapter 2694. The strangest thing was that between the golden core, lightning core, and granules there were a lot of silver things. These things were like clouds in the shape of silk. They were scattered all over the gaps without any pattern. The lightning threads could easily pass through them without being affected at all. This kind of strange golden core, even if he saw it with his own eyes, he wouldn't dare to believe it. He would definitely be happy and angry at Xiao Hua for making things so complicated. Even the condensation of the golden core was a mess. It was unprecedentedly bizarre. Not to mention the condensation of the golden core. When Xiao Hua was building his foundation, he created a gimmick of the 18th level of qi condensation, delaying the date of building his foundation for many years. Only now, when he truly condensed his golden core, did the hidden danger of the 18th level of qi condensation reveal itself. It was really because he encountered a special environment like the sword tomb that he was able to pass through this hidden danger. It was really unknown what kind of earth-shattering thing Xiao Hua would do when he was pregnant with a golden core like this. Yes, it really was an earth-shattering thing. When Xiao Hua passed the third tribulation lightning, his body, which had suffered very little damage, seemed to have been cut into pieces by 1,000 blades. The surface layer was dripping with blood. Most of the blood threads were absorbed back into his body when his body healed after the lightning tribulation. However, there were still some blood threads that dripped down, directly passing through the remnants of the Buddhist gold great array and seeping into the ground of the sword tomb. However, at this time, the sword tomb, could it still be called a sword tomb? Roar! A dragon roar came from the little white dragon's mouth. This roar was extremely loud, and it actually had the momentum to shake the surroundings. It was very obvious that it was completely different from before the lightning tribulation. Xiao Hua, quickly send me back. I want to meditate. Don't disturb me. Carefully savor the harvest of the lightning tribulation. After the dragon roar, the little white dragon cried out weakly. Okay. Xiao Hua didn't say anything, but he muttered in his heart. It's already like this, and you're still trying to show off. What are you shouting for? Thinking of this, Xiao Hua sent out his soul strands to entangle the little white dragon. Xiao Hua originally thought that his soul strands, which had undergone the lightning tribulation, would be able to easily send the little white dragon into the heavenly ring. In the end, the little white dragon's soul had become much heavier. He still had to expend a tremendous amount of effort to complete this task. Naturally, when Xiao Hua sent the little white dragon into the heavenly ring, the several primordial spirits within the heart sword all returned to their original positions, following which, Xiao Hua followed the little white dragon's instructions and began to carefully comprehend it. Xiao Hua closed his eyes and sat cross-legged high up in the sky. The Buddhist golden array had been broken and his figure had long since been revealed. However, he didn't move. While he was carefully comprehending the feeling of condensing his core and the thunder tribulation, he was also inspecting his body, meridians, bones, and other changes. After the time it takes for an incense stick to burn, Xiao Hua opened his eyes. His face was filled with joy, but at the same time he was frowning slightly. Strange, where did the 2 lightning cores in my dantian go? Could it be that, because of the lightning tribulation, it fused with this young master's golden core? Xiao Hua was somewhat puzzled. But if that's the case, then what about this young master's lightning drawing technique? Thinking of this, Xiao Hua stretched out his hand and used the lightning drawing technique. At this time, above Xiao Hua's head, although the thunder tribulation had already passed, the dark clouds didn't dissipate so quickly. If it were any other time, once Xiao Hua's spell was cast, 10,000 bolts of lightning would have already descended. But this time, his thunder drawing technique actually failed. Damn it! There really is a problem. Xiao Hua was somewhat disappointed. Looking at the slowly dissipating dark clouds, he was unhappy. This young master's meridians seemed to have undergone earth-shaking changes. The tempering of my bones has also reached 99%. Even the strength of my body has greatly changed after the lightning tribulation. But this young master is a terrifying phoenix. Without the lightning drawing technique, this young master can only be a bald man. Alas, this golden core seems to be not small. It's even bigger than the golden core cultivators that this young master killed before. Thinking of this, Xiao Hua's body suddenly bloomed with golden light. It was the protective golden light of ordinary golden core cultivators. Go, Xiao Hua waved his hand and a fireball flew out. Boo! With a loud sound, flames soared into the sky within a range of several dozen zhang. Hee. Xiao Hua's heart was filled with a trace of joy. The method of controlling true essence of a Jindan is indeed very different from that of a foundation building. Not only is the magic power several times stronger, even the speed is also much faster. Moreover, with this golden core, even in a situation where there is no spiritual energy of heaven and earth, I can still use great magic. What is this? As far as Xiao Hua's eyes could see, there were actually more than a dozen fist-sized spirit-swallowing bugs flying around. One of them rushed towards the place where Xiao Hua's fireball was just now. The others were wandering around nearby, and there were even two that rushed towards Xiao Hua. These are spirit-swallowing bugs. Xiao Hua's heart was suddenly filled with joy. He had seen spirit-swallowing bugs in the sword slip before. Why are there spirit-swallowing bugs here? Oh, I reckon that Xiao Dou sucked them here. Thinking of this, Xiao Hua waved his Taoist robe, and the space of several zhang was imprisoned. These spirit-swallowing bugs couldn't move at all. Xiao Hua then put them all into his sword pouch. The heaven and earth sleeve technique has also improved. Xiao Hua's heart was filled with joy again. He released his divine sense, wanting to see if there was anything else that he had missed. However, when he released his divine sense, he saw the purple jasmine flowers sweeping through the sky and the specks of blood spots in the purple sea. He couldn't help but be shocked. Aren't the purple jasmine flowers at the edge of the sword tomb? Could it be? Could it be? Xiao Hua almost jumped up from the ground where he was sitting cross-legged. He looked at Xiao Dou above his head in disbelief. Since Xiao Dou had undergone the thunder tribulation, there had been no pure gold spiritual chi of heaven and earth left behind. Moreover, the damaged part seemed to have been repaired now. Could it be this thing? Xiao Hua thought and hurriedly released his divine sense. When his divine sense really saw the situation outside the Buddhist gold formation, he opened his mouth even wider. Yes, above the dark clouds, the sun had already appeared. The golden sunlight was sprinkling down, and it looked like the wind was blowing. It was noon. The sword formation, the magic formation, the accumulated sword essence, had long disappeared. How is this possible? The sword tomb. The sword tomb is thousands of miles wide. Xiao Hua's mind raced. Although he already knew that since the purple jasmine flowers at the edge of the sword tomb had been sucked here by Xiao Dou, and the unique gloominess of the sword tomb had disappeared, this fact already proved that Xiao Hua's guess was true. However, he still denied this guess in his heart. After all, this was really too big. Thinking about this, Xiao Hua probed again and released his divine sense. His divine sense was no longer restricted by the sword tomb, and in an instant, it stretched out for nearly 100 miles. Oh, why are there so many Tao sect cultivators here? When Xiao Hua's divine sense swept past the previous location of the 10-direction annihilation formation, he was surprised to find that there were actually many Tao sect disciples here. These disciples were wearing the robes of various sects and looked panicked. When did my Tao sect disciples come to the sword tomb? Xiao Hua was somewhat baffled. But why haven't I seen the sword cultivators of the Huan country? Xiao Hua's divine sense immediately attracted the attention of the Tao sect disciples. Many disciples released their divine senses and swept toward Xiao Hua's direction. However, these disciples' divine senses only swept out 100 feet before they were immediately awakened and hurriedly withdrew their divine senses. Wasn't the divine sense coming from the direction of the pregnant Tao sect master? Wasn't it calm now because the pregnant Tao sect master had successfully stepped into the nascent soul stage and released her divine sense? Which disciple didn't want to live and look for trouble? There are disciples from various sects, and there are even disciples from the Imperial Thunder sect. Xiao Hua was increasingly baffled. Could it be that my Tao sect disciples are fighting with sword cultivators in the sword tomb? This, he was completely confused. Xiao Hua's divine sense swept around, but he didn't see any traces of a great battle. At this time, all the traces had long been swept clean by Xiao Dou, so how could he still find any clues? Xiao Hua hurriedly withdrew his divine sense and released his Buddhist sense. His Buddhist sense was released for a distance of over 200 miles, and Xiao Hua finally saw some Dao sect disciples fleeing in panic. This is bad. Sure enough, the battle has started. Xiao Hua suddenly realized, this young master's wife is still there. Thinking about this, Xiao Hua's body flourished with sword light. The heart sword standing in midair let out a sword cry and transformed into 2 flying swords, 7 sword pills, and a sword gourd. At the same time that the sword origin returned to his body, Xiao Hua also stored the Dream Executioner, Mountain Splitter, and the 7 sword pills into his Buddhist fire. As for the sword gourd, it was stored into the space. After that, Xiao Hua activated the scene cauldron once more and retrieved the damaged Brahma Gold Grand Array. At the eye of the array, 6 fist-sized metal essence orbs were revealed. The Brahma Gold Grand Array was built on the foundation of these 5 metal essence orbs. If it was in the past, Xiao Hua would definitely be happy, but at this time he only glanced at it and stored it into the space. After Xiao Hua stored away the Buddha Saraira, his gaze once again fell on the mysterious Xiao Dou. The Xiao Dou was still absorbing spiritual energy of heaven and earth, but this spiritual energy was no longer the same as before. It seemed that because it had absorbed enough, or because other than the sword intent, sword energy, and metal essence of heaven and earth in the sword tomb, other spiritual energy of heaven and earth was useless to the Xiao Dou. So the Xiao Dou's absorption of spiritual energy of heaven and earth was much weaker, far less shocking than before. Xiao Hua was somewhat hesitant. Although the momentum had been greatly reduced, the vortex still existed. Xiao Hua was afraid that he would once again fall into the same dangerous situation as before. If so, wouldn't Xiao Hua be looking for trouble for himself? However, if he didn't store away this Xiao Dou, how could Xiao Hua be willing? Even if Xiao Hua didn't know the power of this Xiao Dou, since it had fallen into his hands, he was unwilling to throw it away. Now that he knew that this object was extraordinary, Xiao Hua was even more unwilling to throw it away. Not good. It seems like there are disciples of the Huan Hua sect. Xiao Hua's Buddhist sense had been outside all this time. When he saw that there were actually disciples of the Huan Hua sect being chased by swordsmen, he couldn't help but feel anxious. He clenched his teeth and urged the Imperial Thunder Travel to fly towards the Xiao Dou. Rumble, rumble, rumble. The sound of a thunderstorm was suddenly heard. It was even louder than the previous Imperial Thunder Travel. Chapter 2695. Imperial Thunder Transformation. Xiao Hua only had a flash of thought in his mind when he instantly flew below Small Dou. Xiao Hua did not even need to raise his hand. As his figure flashed below Small Dou, his mind wrapped around it and Small Dou was sucked into the space. Boom! Countless amounts of world spirit chi followed the inertia and smashed towards the place where Little Dou disappeared. The enormous force was extremely surging as it directly smashed into the ground. A deep pit that was several tens of feet in size instantly appeared. The soil and dust rose high into the air as countless amounts of world spirit chi continued to rush over. Wave after wave of impact rippled and dispersed into the distance. However, this rapid rippling impact could not catch up to Xiao Hua's figure. Xiao Hua's cheerful laughter scattered across the sky. What is going on? Since the inner cores of the male and female lightning beasts have disappeared, how did my lightning escape technique advance again? Xiao Hua kept Small Dou. His heart was carefree and bewildered. Perhaps it has something to do with the tempering of my physical body? However, just as Xiao Hua thought of this, anger appeared on his face again. He roared like spring thunder. Who dares to hurt my Dao? At this point, Xiao Hua realized that this was Li Zongbao's catchphrase. He hurriedly shut his mouth. Thunder rumbled under his feet and his figure suddenly sped up. He did not want to use the lightning escape technique, but in the battle between the sword cultivators and the Dao sect, Fairy Hongxia, Li Zongbao and Xiao Mao were already in a predicament. How could he dare to conceal it? Which bastard dares to hurt my Imperial Thunder Sect disciple? Xiao Hua was helpless as he hastily changed his mantra. He used the two secret techniques of stealing the sky, swapping the sun, and crossing the sea by deception. He also took the opportunity to change his Taoist robe and quickly flew forward. As for the location of the spirit-devouring Great Array, because the sword tomb no longer existed, the place where the sword cultivators and the Tao sect confronted each other was still a little turbulent. However, it was already very different from before. Even Xiao Hua could keep small dough in such a situation. LV Ruochang, Hung Li, and the rest could naturally fight to the death. Seeing the sky gradually disappear, LV Ruochang saw the outcome she had predicted. Although she was shocked by the disappearance of the sword tomb, she was more concerned about killing the Tao sect cultivators. The sword mound was nothing more than a product of the Great War of Tao and Sword. If the sword mound was gone, another sword mound would definitely appear. As long as they killed these hundreds of thousands of cultivators, the existence of the sword mound would be meaningless. Therefore, as soon as the suction force of the small battle weakened slightly, LV Ruochang personally took action. He urged the sword light to fight with Hung, and the hundreds of thousands of sword cultivators surrounded the hundreds of thousands of cultivators, ready to kill them one by one. Li Zongbao, Xiao Mao, and Fairy Hongxia were all in a critical situation. The three of them had been injured earlier, but after consuming the pills refined by Xiao Hua, their injuries had improved greatly. However, during this period of time, the spiritual qi of heaven and earth had changed, making it impossible for them to cultivate in peace. They had to constantly deal with the harassment of sword cultivators, causing their injuries to drag on and unable to fully recover. This was especially so for Fairy Hongxia. Her phoenix celestial body had been severely injured by the 5 elemental sword qi, and she could no longer summon it. She could only use the Khanate true water to protect herself, Xiao Mao and Li Zongbao. Xiao Mao was only in the middle foundation establishment stage, and his dermic powers had long been depleted. Fortunately, he cultivated the dragonization ability, and when his spiritual qi recovered, he could extract spiritual qi much faster than others. This was why he could fight with Fairy Hongxia. As for Li Zongbao, who had the highest cultivation, now that his immortal piercing whip had been destroyed, he no longer had a suitable dermic treasure. Most of his mystique was on the immortal piercing whip, and without it, he was really restricted. He could not even compare to Xiao Mao. Kla! LV Ruochang's sword light shot into the sky, and the sound of the sword humming could be heard. The phoenix sword flew out from her body and rushed towards Hung. Hung Heng's face was equally gloomy. He pointed his finger, and the talisman in his nascent soul hand flashed with a faint light, and grabbed at the phoenix sword will. Hung Heng's mood was the complete opposite of LV Ruochang's. He originally wanted to take advantage of the changes in the sword catacomb to find a flaw in the sword cultivators so that he could lead his disciples to escape from the sword formation. But under LV Ruochang's command, the sword cultivator disciples had a tight defense and were impregnable. After several days of stalemate, there was no gap at all. Seeing that the spiritual qi of heaven and earth had become the same as outside the sword catacomb, Hung Heng's heart sank again. Left with no choice, he could only order the Taoist disciples to fight against the sword cultivators, and he himself took out his talisman. If Hung and the others' talismans were normal, they would naturally be able to deal with LV Ruochang and the other third-grade illusory swordsmen. But in the spirit-devouring array, these talismans had been devoured by the spirit-devouring bugs and had been damaged. Now, they were definitely insufficient to deal with the enemy swordsmen. After the first contact between the cultivators and the swordsmen after the changes, the cultivators were immediately at a disadvantage. But as the cultivators fought, they tried their best to break out of the encirclement towards the west. On one hand, there were disciples guarding the 10-direction annihilation array there. On the other hand, they were still hoping that the nascent soul stage elder who caused the changes in the sword catacomb would suddenly appear. However, after fighting for another half a day, tens of thousands of cultivators were killed. The remaining 100,000 cultivators were exhausted and their morale was low. Their morale was in stark contrast to the hundreds of thousands of swordsmen. Hung Fong and the others were in despair. Roar? It sounded like a dragon's roar was coming from afar, but it was much softer when it reached this place. But everyone heard it. Humph. Don't think about the nascent soul stage elder. Didn't you hear it? This is the roar of a strange beast, not the nascent soul stage elder of your Taoist sect. LV Ruochang's phoenix sword essence was once again crushed by Hung Heng's nascent soul stage elder. Seeing Hung involuntarily look towards the west, LV Ruochang sneered. Even if you have a nascent soul stage elder helping you, do you think we sword cultivators don't have a sword transformation stage elder? Don't forget, when we first entered the sword catacomb, the sword transformation stage elder's sword essence was also there. See, that's right. Hung Heng's face turned ashen when LV Ruochang saw through his thoughts. That's right. How could a nascent soul stage cultivator compare to a sword transformation stage elder? Even if this nascent soul stage cultivator was willing to help, would he dare to? Are you really going to kill every single one of my cultivators? Hung Yao looked sadly at the cultivators who were fighting hard, especially his own disciples. Under the siege of more than 10 grade 6 bright sword swordsmen and 2 grade 1 illusory sword swordsmen, Fairy Hongxia, Xiao Mao and Li Zongbao were already in a perilous situation. If not for Fairy Hongxia's innate primordial water, and if not for the fact that these swordsmen were greedy for the innate primordial water, the three of them would have died long ago. What? LV Ruochang sneered. Didn't you all have the same thought when you were in the Golden Destruction Formation? If we were in a different situation, would you let the sword domain elders go? Hung gritted his teeth and said fiercely, I don't know if I can be as ruthless as you. However, I know that where it is possible to make mistakes, one should spare them. Even if I fall today, there will come a day when you will be forced into such a desperate situation by my Tao sect's disciples. Ha ha ha. All right, I will wait for that day to come. LV Ruochang laughed and threw away his previous coldness. I'm afraid you will never see that day in your life. At this moment, in the western sky, rolling thunder sounded from afar. The sound of thunder was like the beating of a war drum, crushing the courage of the sword cultivators. Is finally here. Hung was delighted. A nascent soul stage cultivator's aura came from afar, slowly pushing towards them. However, this aura was a little strange. It only flashed across the sword formation before it was retracted. Then, an angry roar sounded. Which bastard dares to hurt my Imperial Thunder Sect disciples? This voice was like a clap of thunder, shaking the hearts of hundreds of thousands of sword cultivators. They could not help but quietly retract their sword light. LV Ruochang felt the aura of a nascent soul stage cultivator and his expression turned cold. He gritted his teeth and the phoenix sword intent that was about to charge towards Hung also stopped in midair. He looked up into the distance. In the distant horizon, where the thunder was rumbling, a powerful divine sense swept over. At the same time, a short figure flew into everyone's vision at a speed faster than rainbow transformation. Senior brother Nameless? Seeing Xiao Hua's appearance after his transformation, Mingyu was the first to cover her mouth and exclaim, Ah? The second to be shocked was Fairy Hongxia. For a moment, she did not understand. Was this Nameless the real Nameless or Xiao Hua's Nameless in disguise? After all, this was the nascent soul stage Nameless. Xiao Hua was far from the nascent soul stage, right? However, although Xiao Hua's spiritual will had undergone a huge change after condensing his core, there was still a trace of familiarity within it. Furthermore, when Xiao Hua had arrived at the scene, he had looked at her with concern. Fairy Hongxia immediately understood. This nascent soul stage senior was none other than her lover, Xiao Hua. Senior brother Nameless. Hung naturally knew Nameless' name. Seeing the rumbling thunder, how could she not know that this was Nameless? She hurriedly called out. But after calling out, she realized that this was Nameless after his pregnancy. He was her senior, so she immediately changed her greeting. Disciple Hung greets Senior Nameless. Soon, Xiong Huasong and the other surviving Golden Core stage cultivators all bowed and greeted Senior Nameless. Xiao Hua was very pleased with himself. However, he did not really fly close to the battle. Instead, he stood far away in the sky and waved his hand. You all wait. Then, his gaze swept across the entire battlefield. He frowned and said coldly, You all are actually fighting in the sword tomb? My Dao sect disciples. Other than those from the west, are there only so many left? What about Qian Mo? Senior Nameless should know that Qian Mo had already fallen before coming to the sword tomb. Chapter 2696. Qian Mo is dead? Xiao Hua was slightly taken aback, and the image of that righteous golden core cultivator appeared in his mind. That's right. It's LV Ruochang's trap. Hung Ju hurriedly said. She pretended to be weak outside the sword catacomb, and lured our cultivators into the sword catacomb. Furthermore, she set up the yin-yang sword formation, the five-element sword formation, the spirit-devouring formation, and even a soul cultivator formation. She wanted to exterminate hundreds of thousands of our disciples. Exterminate? Xiao Hua really didn't expect LV Ruochang to have so many tricks up her sleeves. Before he participated in the battle, she set up such a huge trap. If he didn't condense his core in the sword catacomb, perhaps not only him but also Fairy Hongxia, Li Zongbao, Xiao Mao, and all the other Dao sect disciples would have died in the sword catacomb. Seeing Xiao Hua frown, Hung Ming hurriedly bowed and said, Fortunately, Senior Wu Ming's pregnant celestial phenomenon broke the sword cultivator's battle and saved our 100,000 disciples. Disciple Hung Ming brings the 100,000 disciples who survived to thank Senior for his great kindness. All the disciples bowed in unison, saying, Thank you, Senior Nameless, for your kindness. Obviously, Hung Ju was afraid that Nameless wouldn't make a move, and wanted to use this righteousness, using the lives of the 100,000 disciples to ask Nameless to make a move. However, Nameless was Xiao Hua, and he came to make a move. How could he not make a move? However, how to make a move was another problem for Xiao Hua. You are LV Ruochang? Xiao Hua's gaze fell on the female swordsman opposite Hung Ju, who had already regained her indifference. Junior LV Ruochang greets nascent soul senior. LV Ruochang's tone was cold, but her etiquette was considerate. She bowed and said, Junior has already heard of Senior's name. Many thanks to Senior for sparing our lives in the 7 Extremes Mountains. Junior LV Ruo. The other third-grade illusory swordsmen were extremely unwilling, but they also bowed helplessly. This helplessness was the same as when Xiao Hua bowed when he saw the swordsman near the Yin-Yang Twin Springs Mountain. You can wait. Xiao Hua waved his hand. I understand what you mean by waiting. This old man didn't participate in the battle, and now I'm a nascent soul senior, so it's not suitable for me to participate in your battle. Hung Ju's heart grew anxious as he silently complained about how the Imperial Thunder Sect was as pedantic as Qian Mo. He wanted to say something. In fact, Xiao Hua's heart was also full of discomfort. Concealing one's cultivation level and being a foundation establishment cultivator, one could really run amok. But how could he be so restrained after acting like a nascent soul senior? However, do you think that I can just stand by and watch as 100,000 Dao sect disciples die in your ambush? Xiao Hua rolled his eyes and said, Not to mention that this old man is unable to face the master of the Imperial Thunder Sect. I'm afraid that this old man's future cultivation will also have inner demons. Senior, if you want to interfere, then do your best. Lu Ruochang said coldly, Senior, you are not the only nascent soul cultivator here. There are also sword transformation masters in our sword domain. Oh? Xiao Hua sneered. Are you threatening this old man? It's not a threat. It's a fact. Lu Ruochang wasn't afraid at all. Since Senior didn't participate in the battle, don't worry too much about it. Your Dao sect's cultivators actually talked about the loss of your sect, but what about the loss of my sword domain? Your Dao sect's cultivators set up the 10-direction annihilation formation in the sword tomb. Didn't they also lure my sword cultivators into an ambush? Didn't they also kill hundreds of thousands of my swordsmen? Oh, there's such a thing? Xiao Hua immediately understood the reason why he saw the disciples of the various sects earlier. In short, this is not the time for Nascent Soul Senior and Sword Transformation Senior to appear, and Senior is also not a gold core cultivator who is participating in the battle. Therefore, I hope that Senior can distinguish right from wrong and withdraw as soon as possible. Lu Ruochang said word by word. Otherwise, when Sword Transformation Senior of my sword domain arrives, it will be hard to say anything. How can there be any Sword Transformation Masters in this sword tomb? If there are falling Gold Mountain cultivators, there are still some. Xiao Hua secretly curled his lips. Senior Nameless, don't listen to her nonsense. Xiong Huasong immediately shouted. Before the swordsmen were ambushed, there was indeed a Sword Transformation Master's sword intent at the place where Senior came from, but the swordsmen were killed. There was no trace of Sword Transformation Senior at all. Oh, I understand. Xiao Hua naturally knew the cause of the matter. The Sword Transformation Master's sword intent was definitely Zhang Yuha's doing. This was what Xiao Hua saw that day. Therefore, Xiao Hua was even more certain that there was absolutely no sword transformation in this sword tomb. Nonsense, if there was a sword transformation in the sword tomb, how could Xiao Hua successfully condense his gold core? Or rather, if the sword transformation was in the sword tomb, could it escape the suction force of small dough? Lu Ruochang. Xiao Hua raised his head and said coldly, "What do you think your sword transformation swordsmen can say when they see this old man? My sword domain's Sword Transformation Senior and Dao Sect's Nascent Soul Senior are all seniors in our eyes. No matter if it's a war or a peaceful time, we disciples should respect them." Lu Ruochang said neither arrogantly nor humbly. As for what seniors say to each other, how would this junior know? Alas, the war between Dao Sect and sword cultivators has already lasted for thousands or even tens of thousands of years. The number of swordsmen and cultivators that died in the sword tomb is also unknown. Among them, there is no lack of outstanding talents. If it weren't for the war, they would all be able to prove their Dao. Xiao Hua sighed slightly and had the appearance of an expert. This old man won't talk about the advantages and disadvantages of the war. The 10-direction Annihilation Formation swordsmen suffered great losses. The 4-direction Sword Formation cultivators suffered great losses. Both sides can be considered even. After today, it will be the battlefield of the various senior brothers. You all should know when to stop. Lu Ruochang didn't give in and said indifferently, "My sword domain's Sword Transformation Senior still hasn't appeared. This junior doesn't know if I can stop. Moreover, Senior doesn't seem to be a Dao Sect disciple participating in the war. You don't seem to have the qualifications to say these words, right?" Xiao Hua frowned and felt very ashamed and angry in his heart. It wasn't that he didn't want to give this Lu Ruochang some color to see, or even take her life. However, he really didn't know what method to use. He didn't know what spell to use, what ability to not reveal his identity. Thinking for a moment, Xiao Hua could only say again, right and wrong in the war between Dao cultivators and sword cultivators. No matter what is said, it's useless. You and I are the difference between friend and foe. So much. What's the use? This old man is asking you right now whether or not you can stop. It's useless. Lu Ruochang also said coldly, "This junior is only reminding Senior that nascent soul cultivators and sword transformation cultivators are all seniors. You can't lower yourself to the same level as us juniors. If Senior violates this rule, don't blame my sword domain's sword transformation cultivators for attacking Foundation Establishment and Qi condensation cultivators for no reason. As for whether or not I should stop, this junior still has the same words. This junior doesn't have the qualifications to say that I should stop." Ha ha ha! Xiao Hua raised his head and laughed heartily. He pointed his finger and said, "Don't say that there are over 300,000 swordsmen here. Do you think these swordsmen can be my match?" In fact, Lu Ruochang's thoughts were exactly as Xiao Hua thought. She really wanted to use these 300,000 swordsmen to fight Xiao Hua. She firmly believed that Xiao Hua absolutely didn't dare, or perhaps disdained to do such a thing to the drawing sword swordsman. And she absolutely dared to use these 300,000 swordsmen to fight Xiao Hua. However, Lu Ruochang said indifferently, This junior doesn't dare to think like that. These sword cultivator disciples are just ants in Senior's eyes. Senior only needs to stretch out a finger to pinch them to death. Everything depends on Senior's thoughts. Nonsense. Xiao Hua was somewhat displeased. He wasn't a nascent soul cultivator and didn't have the awareness and self-restraint of a nascent soul cultivator. He said coldly, "Tell me, my sect's 100,000 disciples, will you release or not release? What if I don't release? What if I release?" Lu Ruochang also threw caution to the wind and said coldly. In fact, Hung Jiao and the others were already anxious. They even disapproved. Why would a nascent soul cultivator talk so much nonsense with illusory swordsmen? Just directly kill them. Although there were 300,000 swordsmen, even if a few escaped, would the Dao sect still admit that it was a nascent soul cultivator? They only needed to kill Lu Ruochang and the other illusory swordsmen. At this time, when they heard Lu Ruochang forcing Xiao Hua into a dead end, they also looked at Xiao Hua anxiously, as if they were waiting for Xiao Hua's decision. Damn it! How could Xiao Hua not know what these gold core cultivators meant? Not to mention that he wasn't a nascent soul cultivator. Even if he was, he still had to consider his own sect. If he killed all the illusory swordsmen, what would happen to the Imperial Thunder sect? How would Qian Lazy explain to the Huan country's sword cultivators? Release? Naturally, it's good for you, it's good for me, it's good for everyone. Xiao Hua said coldly. If you don't release, then you die. It's not good for me, it's not good for everyone. Xiao Hua was also very ruthless. He now regretted wearing the Imperial Thunder sect's clothes and appearing as nameless. Then, this junior would rather die. Lu Ruochang's face was pale. His slender eyelashes fluttered slightly, but his eyes were like the moon in the night sky. He stared at Xiao Hua without the slightest fear. You are forcing me. Xiao Hua said word by word. He slapped his forehead. He vaguely remembered the hand of the nascent soul cultivator in the ink-black forest. A huge hurricane appeared, and the surrounding heaven and earth spirit chi condensed around Xiao Hua's body. That aura was not inferior to that of an ordinary nascent soul cultivator. Ever since Xiao Hua created the Foundation Establishment cultivation method, his confidence skyrocketed. He believed that with his cultivation of the heaven and earth sleeve, he could definitely use the hand of the nascent soul. Even if there were any mistakes, he was just a nascent soul cultivator. What was so hard to explain? Seeing the heaven and earth spirit chi within 100 feet being absorbed by Xiao Hua, Ruoling and the others' faces changed slightly. Hung Jiao and the others were also happy. As for Fairy Hongxia, she was a little shocked. The heaven and earth spirit chi condensed rapidly. Xiao Hua slightly spread his robe, and the power of imprisonment enveloped Lu Ruochang for 100 feet. A faint palm mixed with rocks, and the others were already beginning to take shape. Senior Nameless, Ruoling said anxiously. The outcome of the battle has already been decided. Even if Senior kills Junior Sister Lu, what benefit will it bring to the battle? Besides, why should Senior lower himself to the same level as us? Senior, please stay your hand. Chapter 2697. Who said the outcome of the war has already been decided? How come this old man doesn't know? Xiao Hua narrowed his eyes, his tone cold, as if he had already made a decision. He didn't believe that after he killed LV Ruochang and the others, the cultivators of the 3 cultivation countries would sell the Imperial Thunder sect to the sword cultivators of the Huan country. Hiss! Ruoling and the other swordsmen sucked in a breath of cold air. Realizing that Xiao Hua was truly angry, it seemed that he was going to interfere with the war with the power of a nascent soul. Zhu Qingya's expression changed slightly, and he almost flew back a few steps, as if preparing to command the swordsman. Looking at LV Ruochang again, she felt even more regretful. Her previous words didn't involve the war, and she only focused Xiao Hua's attention on her. She even wanted to use her own life to exchange for the lives of 100,000 cultivators. But she didn't expect that Xiao Hua didn't care about the bearing of a nascent soul cultivator and wanted to kill her. She had overreached herself. Seeing that Xiao Hua's nascent soul hand was about to form, Xiao Hua's expression became even colder. Ruoling and the others unconsciously clenched their fists, preparing to work together to receive the attack of a nascent soul cultivator. But at this moment, whoosh, a long cry of a flying sword came from afar, and a golden light flashed and landed in front of LV Ruochang. A flying sword message? All the sword cultivators were stunned. Because of the special nature of the sword tomb, they couldn't directly use flying swords to send messages. Now that the sword tomb had completely disappeared, a flying sword message could naturally be sent. This was beyond the expectations of all the sword cultivators. However, this flying sword message was right in front of LV Ruochang, and LV Ruochang was restrained by Xiao Hua. Although this restraint wasn't to the extent that LV Ruochang couldn't move, LV Ruochang didn't dare to struggle desperately. Let this old man see. Which old sword ghost sent this message? Xiao Hua coldly looked at Lu Ruochang. Without any trace of politeness, he raised his hand and the flying sword message obediently fell into his hand. A small flying sword flew into Xiao Hua's hand. Xiao Hua released his divine sense and immersed it in to take a look. His face unconsciously revealed a look of astonishment. After a few minutes, he flung his hand, and the flying sword landed in front of LV Ruochang. He coldly snorted and said, "LV Ruochang, you're a schemer. Zhanjin, let me, all of you scram." As he spoke, Xiao Hua loosened the heaven and earth within sleeves technique. His figure flew up slightly, leaving LV Ruochang more than 10 feet away. When Hung Ju saw Xiao Hua's attitude, he couldn't help but be stunned. After Xiao Hua saw the flying sword message, he didn't seem to want to care about this matter anymore. Could it be that this is the swordsman's letter? All the cultivators and swordsmen had the same thought. However, LV Ruochang's face was very indifferent. He took the flying sword letter and looked at it carefully. His face flushed instantly. He raised his head and laughed. His earlier indifference disappeared. Ha ha ha. Ha ha ha. So what if this sword falls today? Your Dao sect cultivators have suffered such a crushing defeat. As a nascent soul cultivator, what can you do? A lone tree cannot hold up the sky. Isn't that the case? Junior sister Lu. Ruoling was shocked and hurriedly flew in front of Lu Ruochang to stop her from being overjoyed. Senior sister Ruoling. Look. LV Ruochang gave the flying sword to Ruoling and said, "This sword's wish has been fulfilled. Even if this sword falls here today, this sword can still smile and meet the fallen seniors of the sword region." Ruoling picked up the flying sword and looked at it carefully. Her face was also overjoyed, but there was also a trace of realization in this joy. Ruoling understood, but everyone else was kept in the dark. They were all confused. Hung Ju, Xiong Huasong and the rest looked at Ruoling, then at Xiao Hua. Ruoling's joy was needless to say, but Xiao Hua's face was gloomy. Needless to say, the news in this flying sword was definitely bad news to the Dao sect cultivators. But what exactly was the bad news? Could it be more tragic than the destruction of 100,000 cultivators in the sword tomb? Senior Nameless? Ruoling didn't pass the flying sword letter to Zhu Qingye and the rest. Instead, she bowed slightly and asked, "Junior, can I tell everyone about this matter? This is a matter of war. It has nothing to do with this old man." Xiao Hua waved his hand and didn't answer. However, he didn't leave either. Clearly, the matter on the flying sword letter had already surpassed this. Hung Ju and the rest felt their hearts skip a beat. They all looked at each other in dismay. They really didn't know what could be more unexpected than this. Let the brave warriors of the sword region know. Ruoling cleared her throat and said loudly, "Under the command of LV Ruochang and fellow swordsman LV Ruochang, Skyscraper Ridge, Soaring Wind Sword Sect, Swarm of Owls Valley, Mountain Crossing Ridge, Cloud Cave, and other swordsman friends suddenly attacked the Lien Kingdom. We obtained a major victory. The Lien Kingdom's peaceful shepherd prefecture's Mo family, Shilong City's Jian family, Qingji Zali family, and other 13 cultivation families, as well as Lumeng sect and Mount Duckweed have now fallen into the hands of our sword region." Ah? This news absolutely exceeded everyone's expectations. Not only the Dao sect cultivators, but even the sword cultivators of the Huan Kingdom were shocked. For a moment, everyone was stunned, and the entire battlefield was silent. Immediately after, all the sword cultivators cheered, and all of them were abnormally excited. As for Hung Ju, Dasun, Xiong Huasong, and the rest, their faces were ashen. They never thought that the sword cultivators' true goal was the Lien Kingdom. They really didn't think that the sword cultivators would actually want to open up a territory in the Lien Kingdom. They also never invested too many Dao sect disciples in the Lien Kingdom. Now, this news was tantamount to a bolt from the blue to them. Ruoling looked at Lu Ruochang, whose face was deathly pale but whose eyes were filled with joy and whose cheeks were slightly flushed. She really didn't know what to say in her heart. This kind of diversion tactic, this kind of strange arrangement, was really not something she could have guessed. Right now, even if Xiao Hua killed Lu Ruochang, even if he killed 300,000 sword cultivators, the Lien Kingdom wouldn't be able to seize the Lien Kingdom. However, it was impossible for the Dao sect's cultivators to easily seize the territory of the Ripple country. Xiao Hua's actions were of no benefit to the Dao sect's war. It could only incite the anger of the sword domain. Perhaps this anger could only be directed at the Imperial Lightning sect. Would Xiao Hua do this kind of thing? Xiao Hua naturally wouldn't do it because he had just said it. All of you scram. Ruoling quietly pulled on Lu Ruochang's sleeve and didn't say a word, but her gaze already explained her meaning. Although Lu Ruochang bit her lips tightly and was unwilling in her heart, but she wasn't a fool. Knowing when to stop was the right thing to do. If she stubbornly persisted, she would definitely end up like Chen Mo. Seeing that Lu Ruochang didn't speak, Ruoling nodded slightly at Zhu Qingye. Zhu Qingye hurriedly raised his hand and said, "Warriors of the various sword domains, we will return in triumph." As he spoke, he waved his hand and flew to the north of the sword tomb. Naturally, the sword tomb was no longer the same as before, and there was no need for any flying swords to scout the way. The group of sword cultivator disciples puffed out their chests and valiantly flew away with Zhu Qingye. Although Lu Ruochang was extremely unwilling in her heart, she still resentfully left under Ruoling and Mu Ting's hands. Xiao Hua sighed, and a sense of helplessness arose in his heart. Yes, he could ambush Qin Jian and Lu Ruochang, but these actions couldn't change the situation of the Dao cultivator war. A cultivator, whether it was Qi refinement, foundation establishment, golden core, or nascent soul, the effect they could play was too little. The reason why a war was called a war was because of the coordination, planning, and scheming. These were not Xiao Hua's forte. Then, Xiao Hua waved his hand, and his figure flew up again. Thunder rumbled around him, and he was about to fly away again. "Senior Nameless!" Dasun hurriedly shouted. "We thank Senior for saving our lives." "There's no need for that." Xiao Hua's interest waned, and he shook his head slightly. "All the heavenly phenomena that broke the sword formation and whatever shocking thunder, they have nothing to do with me. With my cultivation, it's impossible for me to trigger any lightning tribulations. This sword tomb has undergone such a huge change. This is not something that I can do. I just happened to pass by and saw the changes in the sword tomb, so I came to take a look. It's also a fluke that I was able to save all of you. Now that all of you are tired from the war, let's wait for the other senior brothers to come over." "Senior, please wait for a moment." Hung Li came to his senses and hurriedly said, "Disciple and the others should also report to Senior about fellow Taoist Chen Mo's deeds." "Chen Mo?" Xiao Hua shook his head slightly. He only had a bad impression of Chen Mo, and did not have a trace of good impression of him. He simply did not want to hear about his death. "You all better report to the senior brothers of the Imperial Thunder Sect." After saying that, Xiao Hua did not stay any longer. Stepping on the shocking thunder, he flew towards Nanfeng. However, his lips moved slightly, as if he was saying something. "Senior." Hung Li opened his mouth, wanting to keep Xiao Hua, but when he saw that Xiao Hua did not pay attention to him, he felt a sense of disappointment and frustration in his heart. That's right, what's the use of keeping this nascent soul senior? Not to mention the great defeat of the Sword Tomb. Even in the entire Dao Cultivator War, the cultivators of the Dao sect were also defeated. The faces of the Golden Core cultivators in the conference hall had long been lost. Looking around again, how many of the Golden Core cultivators in the conference hall survived the four-direction sword formation of the sword cultivators? Not to mention, among the 27 most famous sects, only 13 cultivators survived, and all of them were injured. The sects that were not famous most likely had already fallen. The war had reached such a stage, and the cultivators of the Dao sect could be said to have suffered a crushing defeat. Forget it? Hong Li looked at Xiao Hua's disappearing figure, and the sound of thunder that was getting softer and softer in his ears, and somewhat weakly ordered, "Regroup, we will return to Sky Patrol City." That's right. Desun suddenly thought of something, and with a low exclamation, he shut his mouth again. What's wrong? Cheng Ming was beside Desun, and his meridians were also greatly damaged. When he heard Desun's low exclamation, he asked softly, "Just now, the strange phenomenon in the Sword Tomb, that faint dragon roar, what's going on?" Desun lowered his voice and said, "I don't know if it was done by Senior Wu Ming. Also, the Sword Tomb where 10,000 lightning bolts do not occur, why would there be a lightning tribulation? I have never heard of it before." Chapter 2698. Cheng Ming shook his head slightly, looked at the place where Xiao Hua disappeared, and said, "Didn't Senior Nameless say it just now? It seems that the dark clouds of the lightning tribulation and the disappearance of the Sword Tomb have nothing to do with him, and this is not something a nascent soul master can do. Senior Nameless came and went in a hurry. I'm afraid he's going to find out the truth of this matter. Otherwise, Lu Ruochang will definitely not be able to keep his life." Desun nodded slightly, but he was still a little confused. What fellow Chang said is reasonable, but if it's not Senior Nameless, who in this Sword Tomb can have such magical power? When did the Sword Tomb have a strange beast? How can there be a dragon's roar? Who knows if it's a dragon's roar? In short, it might be some strange beast. However, even if it's possible, I don't believe that it's Senior Nameless doing. Cheng Ming was a little disdainful. Didn't you see it just now? Senior Nameless nascent soul technique can't be used perfectly. This Sword Tomb is thousands of miles wide, with thousands of years of sword energy. Not to mention a nascent soul master, even a spirit severing stage senior can't do it. There must be a big anomaly in the Sword Tomb. A strange beast is going through the lightning tribulation again, and Senior Nameless is just pregnant. This situation is also our luck. Speaking of this, Cheng Ming smacked his lips, with a look of lingering fear. He lowered his voice again, afraid that the sword cultivators who had already gone far away would hear him. This kind of coincidence can only be believed by those sword cultivators who don't know the details of our Dao sect cultivators' advancement. If not, with Senior Nameless nascent soul cultivation, he might not be able to kill so many third-grade illusory swordsmen. If not, those third-grade illusory swordsmen would have fallen out with Senior Nameless long ago, right? Yes, it should be so. Hung Zhao and the others were very knowledgeable, so they naturally had the same tolerance. But seeing Desun nod again, he said, "Previously, I was a little worried for Senior John Doe. If it weren't for the flying sword message, you wouldn't have been able to find a way out. If you wanted to save us, you would have to kill LV Ruochang. Once he made his move, Ruoling and the other sword cultivators would have no choice but to act. Not to mention that old man, even our lives are in danger. Nameless is indeed a senior from the Imperial Thunder Sect. Yuan Zhongju's side. He and Qianmo are really similar. Obviously, with his cultivation level, he might not be able to save us. Yet, he refused to give up. If he didn't save us, he wouldn't turn back. He doesn't even take Lu Ruochang's threat seriously." "Indeed," Hung Zhao chimed in. "Once we return to Sky Patrol City, the first thing we need to do is to inform the masters of the various sects about the outcome of the war. The second thing is to report the matter of Senior John Doe saving us, so that the teachers can be prepared to assist Senior John Doe at any time. Don't let him be besieged by the swords of Huan country. Not bad. All the golden core cultivators nodded. We are indebted to Senior John Doe. We must take responsibility for this matter on behalf of Senior John Doe and the Imperial Thunder Sect. We must not let him and the Imperial Thunder Sect be attacked by the swords. The group of golden core cultivators was not in a hurry to fly away. They knew that the sword cultivators had retreated and had achieved an unprecedented victory in Huan country. Lu Ruochang and the others would never do anything unnecessary, and the sword cultivators would never chase after them again. Hence, they urged the remaining 100,000 or so disciples from various sects to fly west and meet up with the other disciples before returning to Sky Patrol City together. The 100,000 disciples' faces were filled with joy, the joy of escaping death. They did not care about the Huan country being attacked by the sword cultivators. In their eyes, as long as they could escape with their lives, it was better than anything else. Moreover, they also knew that as the survivors of the early stage of the sword battle, they were all meritorious. Although they did not know if they had to continue to stay in Sky Patrol City to fight with the swordsmen after the nascent Soul Masters arrived, it was obvious that the Dao sect cultivators were defeated and they were also badly injured. They were not fit to fight again. What they had to do now was to return to Sky Patrol City and meditate first while waiting for the nascent Soul Masters to arrive. Then, they would most likely have to return to their sects with the flying ship. Li Zongbao and Xiao Mao stood in midair with a puzzled look on their faces. Xiao Hua's divine thought had become much stronger, so they could not immediately tell that John Doe was Xiao Hua. However, they knew that John Doe first appeared in 7 Extremes Ridge. That was also the time when Xiao Hua went to 7 Extremes Ridge to rescue them. If there was no accident, John Doe should be Xiao Hua. After all, the Imperial Thunder Sect would not have so many powerful disciples for no reason. However, whether John Doe was Xiao Hua or not depended on Fairy Hongxia, who was at 7 Extremes Ridge that day. Unfortunately, when Li Zongbao and Xiao Mao looked at Fairy Hongxia, she did not pay them any attention. Her gaze fell on Ming Yu's face, who was not too far away from her. Ming Yu's eyes were filled with surprise, regret and longing. She was looking in the direction where Xiao Hua had disappeared. It seemed that she had been staring at Xiao Hua and had not been satisfied. It also seemed that her gaze could penetrate space and see Xiao Hua's not very tall figure. Sigh. For no apparent reason, Fairy Hongxia felt a ripple in her heart. However, a trace of pride appeared at the corner of Fairy Hongxia's mouth. She muttered in her heart, "Husband. What is he doing? When will he be able to conceive a baby? If it's about core formation, it's about the same. And where did he get such a powerful divine ability to make the sword catacomb disappear? Looks like, when I see him later, I'll have to ask him a few more questions." Fairy Hongxia thought as she flew up with the group of disciples. She inadvertently turned her head to look at the sword catacomb that had become very ordinary. This sword catacomb is no longer the sword catacomb. It will no longer be a dangerous place. Sigh. I'm afraid my country if she... Fairy Hongxia flew away. Li Zongbao and Xiao Mao also flew away. Heng Heng and the rest also flew away. Everyone's gaze shifted away from the sword catacomb. In their hearts, they all thought that the sword catacomb would no longer exist. What they didn't know was that under the sword catacomb, an unknown depth, there was an unknown space. Layers of black and red lingered on the surface of the space. A body that was dozens of feet in size was lying on the ground. This body was covered in black gas, making it impossible to see its true appearance. The body was quiet, without any movement. However, the calm and orderly swirling black and red suddenly started to boil. It was as if there was some unforeseen event. The swirling blood emitted a faint fluctuation that slowly spread into the space. The black gas on the body was also disturbed and gradually rippled. The strangest thing was that above this space, some of the blood that dripped down from Xiao Hua's lightning tribulation slowly fell. Although it wasn't directly above this space, it seemed to have some suction force. It slowly changed its direction and fell towards the space. The sword catacomb, an existence that had existed for thousands of years. Now that it had disappeared, who knew what kind of unforeseen event it would cause? A few days later, more than 500 miles to the west of the Sword Catacomb should be where the purple jasmine flower was. Xiao Hua had already returned to his original appearance. He was slowly flying in the air with a trace of doubt on his face. As he walked, he waved his hand and a thumb-sized lightning easily struck down. It was precisely the lightning that struck a thick ancient tree in the distance. Strange, Xiao Hua whispered to himself. Previously in the Sword Catacomb, there was no lightning. Now that the Sword Catacomb is no longer here, why is there no lightning? Could it be that this Sword Catacomb was originally a little strange? Is it because of this strangeness that the Sword Catacomb was formed? And it wasn't because of the Sword Catacomb that it became so strange. Moreover, this young master's lightning-attracting technique still exists. Compared to before the core condensation, there isn't any change. Thinking of this, Xiao Hua immersed his divine thought into his dantian, and his hand formed another seal. In his dantian, the two fist-sized golden cores emitted a faint brilliance, and a wave of spiritual power gushed out. No, this golden core seems to be a little different from what Martial Uncle Zhen Qing said. Xiao Hua looked at the incomparably smooth silver golden core and shook his head. The golden core is born from the heavenly Tao and is somewhat similar to alchemy. There must be some traces of the heavenly Tao inside. Oh, I understand. Xiao Hua's divine sense easily penetrated the golden core and entered the inner layer of the silver brilliance. In an instant, he saw the true core of the golden core, as well as the lightning core and many planet-like true essence particles. The heavenly Tao starry sky? Xiao Hua looked at the constantly rotating sphere and the silver clouds and unconsciously groaned. Others bitterly search for the heavenly Tao starry sky. Even Taoist Yen Hong of the Haoming City is proud of the Shen Kong Pavilion starry sky. However, this young master's golden core actually has this thing. This. Xiao Hua smiled bitterly. Now that he knew the disadvantages of mutation, he was really worried about the effects of the heavenly Tao starry sky's golden core when he was pregnant. Forget it. Don't think about it anymore. One wrong step and all wrong steps. All the karma had already been planted when this young master built his foundation. What's the use of thinking about it now? It's better to cultivate more, look for more secret techniques, and make more preparations for the pregnancy. Xiao Hua shook his head and smiled. As the saying goes, when the water comes, the earth will cover it. When the soldiers come, the soldiers will block them. This young master wants to see what kind of scenery it will be like when I'm pregnant. After thinking about it, Xiao Hua raised his head and looked into the distance. He felt strange and said, "My wife, why isn't she here yet? Could it be that something happened to the sword tomb? This place is only a few hundred miles away from the sword tomb." As he spoke, Xiao Hua released his divine sense. Then, a smile appeared on his face again. This girl doesn't miss her husband at all? This kind of dawdling. Doesn't she know the principle that a long separation makes the heart grow fonder? Sure enough, in the time it took to finish a meal, Fairy Hongxia's graceful figure appeared in mid-air in the distance. She released her divine thought, and the moment she saw Xiao Hua, she immediately increased her flying speed. Like a phoenix returning to its nest, she rushed over. Chapter 2699. Hubby. Looking at Xiao Hua's smiling face, Fairy Hongxia's heart felt warm. It was as if all the complicated feelings and worries she had along the way had turned into smoke. Looking at Xiao Hua rushing towards her like a gust of wind, her brows flushed red. Her slightly warm body was like a swallow as she threw herself into Xiao Hua's embrace. Tightly holding onto Xiao Hua's waist, Fairy Hongxia used all her strength, as if she wanted to embed Xiao Hua into her body. It was only this feeling of strength that gave Fairy Hongxia a sense of security. Xiao Hua naturally felt Fairy Hongxia's emotions, and his heart was filled with emotions. Indeed, in a sword battle there was danger at every moment. Any carelessness could lead to the death of a cultivator. To let Fairy Hongxia fight alone in such a cruel battlefield It was really difficult for her. Luckily, Xiao Hua had encountered two of Fairy Hongxia's most critical moments. Xiao Hua had not concealed his cultivation level for Fairy Hongxia's sake. Both times, he had revealed his actual cultivation level. "Hubby, love me." Fairy Hongxia leaned her head against Xiao Hua. Her cheeks were as hot as charcoal and her heart was beating like a little deer. Although the two of them had already experienced dual cultivation before, when she suddenly said such words, even though it was just a whisper, it still made her feel very shy in her heart. When Xiao Hua heard this, he was slightly taken aback and immediately became overjoyed. This kind of request is what all men in the world like. It is also something that all men are duty-bound to do, and Xiao Hua had already prepared everything for Fairy Hongxia. Following which, Xiao Hua hugged Fairy Hongxia in his arms. His figure drew a beautiful arc in the air as he flew towards a low concave area. There was a cave entrance hidden under the mountain rocks there. After a few hours under the mountain rocks, in the cave, Fairy Hongxia was sweating profusely. Her body was wrapped in a bright red robe, and she was lying on Xiao Hua's body. Her arms were like pure white jade, and there was a faint blush in the light jade color. "Hubby." Fairy Hongxia's hand was holding Xiao Hua's. Hearing Xiao Hua's deep heart, her eyes were like flowing water, and she murmured softly, as if she had no strength left, and as if she was afraid of disturbing the silence. "You hid it from me so painfully. You actually have such a high cultivation. Hehe. I've never hidden anything from you. In this entire world. Only you know what my cultivation level is like." Xiao Hua was also extremely carefree. He held Fairy Hongxia's slender fingers and laughed softly. "Humph. If I hadn't seen your eyes, I wouldn't have believed it." Fairy Hongxia rebuked. "You actually managed to cultivate my sister's purloin swapping technique to such an exquisite level. Even those golden core masters could not tell. Why didn't you tell me earlier?" Xiao Hua's eyes turned slightly, and he said with a smile, "Your husband also wants to tell you, but there's always no time. Moreover, if you don't ask, I won't be able to recall such minor details of the secret technique." "Speak." Fairy Hongxia raised her eyebrows. "Other than your identity as nameless, what other identities do you have? And how many dual cultivation partners?" Xiao Hua's heart thumped. The reason why he did not mention to Fairy Hongxia that he could change his appearance was because he was afraid that Fairy Hongxia would ask such a question. He seemed to already know that all female cultivators, regardless of their cultivation level, would have such suspicions on this matter. "Listen to what my wife is saying. Your husband had no choice but to change his appearance in order to save my wife." Xiao Hua hurriedly explained. "Your husband is so handsome and handsome. Changing my appearance would damage my image." "Why would your husband feel uncomfortable for no reason?" "Che," Fairy Hongxia snorted coldly. "There are millions of cultivators in the Dawn Rain continent. Who knows how many of them are handsome and outstanding? How many of them are at the nascent soul stage like Nameless? Do you think that all female cultivators only value the stinky appearance of male cultivators?" At this point, Fairy Hongxia originally wanted to treat Ming Yu's matter as a joke, or to warn Xiao Hua, but when she was about to say it, she stopped. Moreover, she had made a decision in her heart. No matter how well Ming Yu treated her, she would never tell Ming Yu's background to Ming Yu, and she would never tell Ming Yu's thoughts to Xiao Hua. Haha. Nameless is a nameless person. Xiao Hua smiled. "Nameless will only exist where my wife is, and where there is no wife, there will naturally be no nameless. If my wife doesn't like it in the future, there will be no nameless in this world. Yes, I really don't like nameless. In the future, don't let him appear," Fairy Hongxia said without hesitation. "Moreover, nameless limelight is too conspicuous. The Golden Core Masters of various sects have already reported this matter to their sections. The Imperial Thunder Sect will definitely do their best to find Nameless. I see that you don't like to show off. Then, don't let them find any clues about you. My wife's instructions are the golden rule." Xiao Hua used his hand to pat Fairy Hongxia's shoulder and smiled as he replied. Then he immediately changed the topic and asked, "This place is not too far from the sword tomb. Why did my wife come so late? Your husband thought that you wouldn't be able to come." "Humph, do you think that I am like you, who can leave at any time?" Fairy Hongxia said coquettishly. "In the battle of the sword tomb, my Dao sect disciples were almost completely annihilated. The various sects were busy counting the number of disciples who survived. How could I leave at will?" "Sigh, that's right." That day, my Dao sect disciples gathered at Sky Patrol City. Every one of them was full of fighting spirit, who knew that at this time, only 100,000 disciples survived. Speaking of this matter, Xiaohua also sighed. "In this battle, my Dao sect suffered a crushing defeat." "Alright, what happened in the battle of the sword tomb?" "Your husband saw that beside the sword array, there seemed to be another array? The golden core masters of the discussion hall. Why would they think of setting up an array in the sword tomb?" Fairy Hongxia's face showed that she was in a difficult position and said softly, "I really don't know how the array was set up in the sword tomb. I only found out after chasing the sword cultivators into the sword tomb. As for the details, my husband can ask senior brother Li Zongbao. He should know more." "Alright, when your husband sees Li Zongbao, I will ask him then." Xiaohua nodded. That senior brother Li mentioned it to me before." Fairy Hongxia chuckled. "The three of you have killed Qin Jian and received the number 1 bounty of our Dao sect. Your bounty is in his hands. If I see you, I'll ask you to look for him. He'll give you a surprise." "Surprise? What surprise?" Xiaohua was curious. Fairy Hongxia shook her head. "I don't know. I'm afraid that the bounty is extremely high. As for what kind of bounty there is, because the battle was in a hurry, I only know that there is a huge reward for you. As for what it is, I don't know. What kind of surprise can there be? It's just some cultivation techniques, spirit stones and the like." Xiaohua did not mind. He had many things in his space. Just the things he gave Zhonghauren, and the rest would not be any less than the bounty. However, he really could not think of any surprises. "I will tell my husband about the battle at the sword catacomb." Thinking about the 2 battles at the sword catacomb, Fairy Hongxia felt a lingering fear. She could not help but want to tell Xiaohua about it. She wanted him to share the fear in her heart. Alright. Xiaohua had long known about the uneasiness in Fairy Hongxia's heart from her abnormal behavior. If this uneasiness were to continue for a long time, it would definitely become an inner demon. Telling him about it now was indeed beneficial. Following which, Fairy Hongxia told Xiaohua about everything that happened at the sword catacomb. Although Xiaohua already knew the outcome, but his heart could not help but rise and fall with Fairy Hongxia's experience. In the end, he even felt a little regretful. "My wife." Xiaohua hugged Fairy Hongxia tightly, just like how Fairy Hongxia hugged him previously. "It's been hard on you. In the future, you will stay by my side. I will be a big tree that can shelter you from the wind and rain. I will block all the difficulties for you." He. After Fairy Hongxia finished speaking, she heaved a sigh of relief, as if a heavy burden had been lifted off her shoulders. Hearing Xiaohua's caring words, she smiled sweetly and shook her head. "Although my husband's words make my heart feel sweet, you cannot do that." "Oh, why?" Xiaohua did not expect Fairy Hongxia to reject him. He was stunned. The path of cultivation is like rowing a boat against the current. If I were to always be under your protection, how would I be able to grow? Even if I have some secret techniques, my husband has some help. But what about the tribulation? Would my husband be able to help me overcome the tribulation? Fairy Hongxia smiled. "My husband's kind intentions are appreciated. However, this path, I still have to walk it myself. Only the path I walk is the true path." "Good," Xiaohua praised. "With such ambition, you are truly my wife. If your husband does not praise you, who will? No matter who praises me, it is not as good as my husband praises me." Fairy Hongxia smiled. "Back then, my husband's cultivation base was much weaker than mine. Now, TSK, you can even pretend to be a nascent soul master. You can make a group of gold core masters bow down and worship you. You can make a group of third-grade illusory swordsmen run away in fear. I will have to catch up to my husband. Xiao Hua's heart skipped a beat. He was just about to ask about the journey to Million Meng Mountains when he saw Fairy Hongxia smiling like a flower, pointing her finger at Xiao Hua's nose and saying, "What a pity! My husband has such a powerful divine ability, but in terms of finding the direction, you are still lacking." "Ah? How did you know?" Xiao Hua was stunned. This was his only weakness, and he had never told anyone about it. Tisk, Fairy Hongxia smiled. "My husband told me that it was 500 miles south of the Sword Catacomb, and this place is already towards the west. If not for me flying towards the west for a few dozen miles, how would I be able to find my husband?" "Ah, it's already towards the west?" Xiao Hua's expression was very awkward. He scratched his head and said, "I remember flying straight towards the south." Chapter 2700. Hee. Fairy Hongxia smiled tactfully and did not speak. After a while, she asked curiously, "Husband, in the sword tomb, you should be condensing your core, right? How could there be such a celestial phenomenon? Also, how did you get to the sword tomb?" "This?" Xiao Hua hesitated slightly. The matters of the Yu family of Fallen Gold Mountain were very complicated. Furthermore, there were many disputes with the Huanhua sect. His appearance as Feng Ying had nothing to do with Fairy Hongxia. However, he had already promised Fairy Hongxia that other than Nameless, he did not have any other clones. Now that there was another Feng Ying, wouldn't he be lying? Furthermore, if Fairy Hongxia knew about the Jade Tong, wouldn't she pay more attention? Then, with the Jade Tong's high cultivation, wouldn't it be easy for something to go wrong? Even if he was not afraid of the Jade Tong, Fairy Hongxia could not help but be afraid. This person had personally sacrificed 100,000 cultivators. Should I say or not? Xiao Hua hesitated because if he did not say anything, Fairy Hongxia would be even more ignorant. Who knows, she might even fall into the Jade Tong's trap. Hee. If husband doesn't want to say, then don't say it. Fairy Hongxia did not have a trace of unwillingness. Other than the matter of Mingyue and the rest, Fairy Hongxia was still very assured of Xiao Hua. It's not that I don't want to say it. Actually, rather than knowing some things, it's better not to know. Xiao Hua smiled and said, "These things are related to your Huanhua sect. I'm afraid that you will be involved. However, after the Battle of the Sword Tomb, you are a hero of the war. Not to mention that Xiangming will take care of you. Even the sect leader of the Rinsing Flower sect will favor you. These miscellaneous matters are nothing. It's actually related to my Huanhua sect." Fairy Hongxia was stunned. However, thinking about the Sword Tomb, she frowned and knew that it was not a small matter. Thus, she did not ask any more questions. Hee. Didn't you want to know about the Sword Tomb's celestial phenomenon? With a wave of his hand, Xiao Dou was taken out from the Buddha fire. He smiled and said, "It was this item that destroyed the Sword Tomb," saying that, Xiao Hua briefly explained the abnormality of Xiao Dou. "Do you recognize this item?" Xiao Hua asked with a smile. Fairy Hongxia took the small dipper. After looking at it, she released her divine sense. In the end, she shook her head and said, "I have never heard of this item, nor have I seen any records of this item. However, since this inconspicuous thing could actually destroy the Sword Tomb, that was definitely a treasure with inconceivable power. Husband, you have to keep it well. Even if it's someone else, you can't just casually ask too much." Out of habit, Fairy Hongxia wanted to say, "If you can't do it, go ask senior martial brother Li Zongbao." However, on second thought, Li Zongbao realized that if the whereabouts of such a powerful treasure were leaked, even though he would keep it a secret, he could not afford to be careless. If the Utopia faction knew about it and He Ping really wanted it, what could Li Zongbao do? Got it. Xiao Hua smiled as he put Xiao Dou back into the Buddha fire. If I don't have full confidence, I definitely won't ask. Completely confident? Why are you asking others? Fairy Hongxia asked curiously. Xiao Hua shrugged his shoulders and asked, if this husband doesn't ask, how would this husband know the origin of this thing? Husband, where did you get it? Naturally, you can go and look for it. Fairy Hongxia replied. TSK. Xiao Hua imitated Fairy Hongxia's tone and said, this thing is a piece of trash. I picked it up. As he spoke, Xiao Hua told her the origin of the matter. Can it be like this? Fairy Hongxia was a little dumbfounded. She did not expect Xiao Hua to pick up this item, and this item that he picked up was actually so powerful. Husband, your luck is really TSK. Fairy Hongxia did not know what to say. That is. Xiao Hua raised his head. My luck is the best in the Xiaoyu continent. Ha ha ha, you're so shameless. Fairy Hongxia laughed like a flower. The two of them teased each other for a while. Finally, Xiao Hua asked, my wife, when are we going to Million Mountain Meng? When we return to Sky Patrol City, I'll report to Martial Uncle Mingyu. Fairy Hongxia finally mentioned Mingyu. However, she still stole a glance at Xiao Hua. Seeing that Xiao Hua did not notice, she said, after all, my Huanhua sect has suffered heavy losses. The remaining disciples, Martial Uncle Xiang Ming, will not casually send them out. Oh? How many disciples are left in your Huanhua sect? What about my Imperial Thunder sect? Xiao Hua thought again. Also, how did Qian Mo die? I really don't know how Martial Uncle Qian Mo died. Fairy Hongxia said apologetically. You can ask Li Zongbao about this. However, my Huanhua sect is left with less than 5,000 disciples. However, your Imperial Thunder sect has 4,000 more disciples than my Huanhua sect because of the physique of the disciples. I know about this. Ah? Less than 10,000 disciples? Xiao Hua's heart ached, but he was still surprised. That's right. Only 100,000 disciples survived the square sword formation. The disciples of the Huanhua sect all had thunder and fire properties, so the spirit-swallowing bugs didn't attack them with all their might. They were only killed by the sword practitioners' flying swords. Only by doing so could we save 10,000 disciples. Fairy Hongxia nodded. Xiao Hua raised his eyebrows and asked again. The sword cultivators have 300,000 disciples in the sword tomb. They have conquered such a large territory. I'm afraid they have at least 200,000 disciples. In this battle, they have gained too much of an advantage. Sigh, yes. Fairy Hongxia sighed and then comforted Xiao Hua. But husband, you don't have to worry too much. How can there be no deaths in a battle? The cultivators in the three kingdoms are as numerous as the hairs on a cow. Compared to the sword cultivators, the number of cultivators dying is nothing. When the nascent soul masters come again, there will be hundreds of thousands of disciples gathered in Sky Patrol City. TSK. That's hundreds of thousands of lives. Xiao Hua smacked his lips and said, gone just like that. I'm afraid it's not just hundreds of thousands of lives. Fairy Hongxia said, including the sword cultivators. It's estimated to be 1 million lives. Actually, there are times when I really wonder why there are so few Golden Core Stage Elders in my Dao sect and why their cultivations are so weak. If there were a few advanced Golden Core Stage Elders who were adept at planning and strategizing, my Dao sect would not have suffered so many casualties. It's true. Xiao Hua suddenly realized that the masters in the conference hall were really only in the middle Golden Core stage. Even he could not defeat them, how could they fight with the sword cultivators? Maybe they just want them to die. Xiao Hua waved his hand and said casually, forget it. The battle is over. It's useless to think about this. Chen Mo is also dead. I'm sure my Imperial Thunder Sect's sect leader Chen Lazy should also be here. Your Huanhua sect's sect leader should also be here. Who knows? Fairy Hongxia shook her head. Actually, the sect leader may not be here, but every sect must have a nascent soul cultivator. When will they be here? I don't know, Fairy Hongxia said honestly. But we have to go to Million Mountain before the nascent soul masters arrive. Okay, Xiao Hua nodded and said, I'll accompany you back to Sky Patrol City. But I won't be entering Sky Patrol City after you report. Speaking of this, Xiao Hua's eyes lit up and he said with a smile, Why do you have to go back to Sky Patrol City? You and I can go to Million Mountain now. Unexpectedly, Fairy Hongxia smiled bitterly and said, I've already thought about it before I came. First, now that my Dao sect has been defeated, I suddenly propose to go to Million Mountain. I'm afraid. It's a little suspicious, or even a hint of escape. Second, the sword vault has disappeared, but the space cracks and other dangerous places in it may not disappear. Instead, it will move because of the changes, and the path that we found earlier may not be usable. Besides, the sword vault is no longer a dangerous place. The sword cultivators will definitely place a large number of troops around the sword vault, which will increase the resistance for us to pass through the sword vault. These are nothing. Xiao Hua said proudly. Do you think I'm afraid of these? Don't forget, you're Xiao Hua, not John Doe. Fairy Hongxia smiled and said, And I still want to wait for the sect to settle down before I make my own plans. Listen to me. Xiao Hua clenched his hand and said, We'll go to Million Mountain now. If we wait for the nascent soul masters, I may not have time. How can you not have time? Fairy Hongxia asked curiously. You're also one of the lucky survivors of this war. Maybe you're also going to return to the Imperial Thunder Sect. Ah, there's such a thing? Xiao Hua was somewhat dumbfounded. He had always been calculating how to avoid meeting Taoist Jingyu, but he never thought that he, as a meritorious official in the war, actually didn't have to fight together with a nascent soul master. How could they meet Taoist Jingyu? Didn't I say earlier? The nascent soul masters will bring back hundreds of thousands of disciples. As for us, these hundreds of thousands of disciples, although we are all meritorious subjects, we are also people who have retreated in defeat. It is not suitable for us to fight again. I heard from Martial Ant Mingyue that the Jindan masters in the conference hall intend to have us all return to the sect. Fairy Hongxia pursed her lips and said, Of course, we disciples who have some matters to attend to may stay in Sky Patrol City. Xiao Hua would not tell her about Jingyu's matter. He shook his head and said, I think it's better for us to go first. All right then. Fairy Hongxia nodded and said, If that's the case, I'll catch up with Martial Ant Mingyue and tell them about this matter. I'll follow you to Million Mountain Meng. Good. Xiao Hua stroked Fairy Hongxia's silky skin and said, I'll follow you. Husband, you don't have to show up now. Fairy Hongxia shook her head. The Imperial Thunder Sect is now without a leader. Although you're only at the middle stage of foundation establishment, your reputation is already out there. If you go back, you may not be able to come out. You'll follow me and contact Senior Martial Brother Li Zongbao to see if there's any surprise for you. Then follow me to the Sword Tomb. All right, I'll do as you say. Xiao Hua kissed Fairy Hongxia's cheek. The two stood up, tidied their clothes, and flew out of the cave. Chapter 2701. Fairy Hongxia's ability to find directions was indeed better than Xiao Hua's. She did not fly towards the sword catacomb at all. Instead, she flew towards the direction of the Sky Patrol City based on her estimation. In just a few days, Xiao Hua's Buddhist consciousness had already seen the Dao sect's troops in a neat formation. My wife, it seems that the Dao sect's troops are in front of us. I will not meet them. Xiao Hua clenched his fists and said softly. Fairy Hongxia was naturally used to Xiao Hua's divine thought range. She smiled and said, Then I will go and tell Senior Uncle Xiang Ming. He won't suspect me, right? You are a great contributor who saved dozens of gold core cultivators. Even if he suspects me, he will not suspect you. Xiao Hua smiled. Of course, such a major battle. The famous Xiao Hua of the Imperial Thunder Sect is actually not in the Sword Catacomb. This is really suspicious. Fairy Hongxia teased Xiao Hua with a few words, then smiled and said, This concubine also called Senior Brother Liaot. Don't. Xiao Hua rolled his eyes and said softly, I will go and find him myself. If you go and find him, he may suspect me. All right. Fairy Hongxia was actually quite surprised why Xiaohua was so secretive. If she had the strength of a nascent soul cultivator, she would have revealed it long ago. She would definitely be put in an important position by the sect. Moreover, if she had such a cultivation, how could the Kai family of Luyang be at such a level? They would have already suppressed the Kai family of Luyang. However, Fairy Hongxia was extremely smart and did not ask any more questions. She just hugged Xiaohua and flew into the air. After Fairy Hongxia reluctantly flew away, Xiaohua once again charged into the air and executed the lightning escape technique. The sound of thunder was so loud that it sounded like thousands of heavenly drums were beating. Within the sound of thunder, there was a kind of surging momentum, as if he was about to soar into the sky. However, this carefree and unrestrained momentum was only a gradual process. It was far from reaching the limit of a shocking change. Imperial Thunder Transformation. Xiaohua's heart was as calm as an ancient well. He already knew when he was condensing his core that the lightning core in his dantian would undergo some changes after going through the lightning tribulation. His lightning escape technique would definitely improve. However, he didn't expect that he would reach the Imperial Lightning Transformation stage in such a short time. He was at the same level as the head of the Imperial Lightning sect, Chen Lazy. However, thinking about Yu Lei Jing and Lei Tung behind him, a sense of expectation and a trace of pride involuntarily leaped into his heart. Perhaps, I will be the first Yu Lei Jing disciple on the Dawn Rain continent to cultivate the lightning escape technique to the Thunderclap Ninth Heaven? Xiaohua's figure streaked across the void in midair and had long since disappeared without a trace. After chasing the hundreds of thousands of Dao sect disciples, Xiaohua rested for a bit before flying over. When he was a few dozen kilometers away, Xiaohua took out the token and checked it with his divine sense. Sure enough, Li Zongbao's imprint had reacted. Xiaohua listened in the air and sent out a message. After waiting for an entire meal's worth of time, Xiaohua finally saw Li Zongbao fly out from the large group of people. What shocked him was that Xiao Mao was actually following beside Li Zongbao. Xiao Mao, this guy, is a disciple of my Xuanyan school from the country of Xi. Now that the three countries have separated into groups, why is he following beside Li Zongbao? Xiaohua frowned slightly. During the war, it didn't count for much, but if it's still the same now, I'm afraid that the higher dimensions of the Xuanyan school will have some thoughts. It had to be said that Xiaohua, who previously didn't care about these minor details or didn't understand them at all, had gradually matured after the baptism of the great Dao sword battle. In this world, there was no such thing as a natural leader. Everyone slowly grew up in an environment of life and cultivation. Those so-called great talents who rushed the seedlings to help them grow, their so-called endings, were probably similar to this great Dao sword battle. Li Zongbao and Xiao Mao gradually flew closer. The two of them could already see Xiaohua's thin figure. Li Zongbao's expression didn't change, but Xiao Mao couldn't help it. He was originally more than 3 feet behind Li Zongbao, but he actually urged his flight technique to get close to Li Zongbao's back, almost parallel to him. Moreover, the fiery passion in Xiao Mao's eyes couldn't be concealed. Xiaohua's eyebrows twitched, and he couldn't help but glare at him. This glare immediately woke Xiao Mao up. His figure immediately slowed down a lot, and he obediently flew behind Li Zongbao. Li Zongbao naturally sensed the change in Xiao Mao's flight, but he didn't care. He looked at Xiaohua flying over and said indifferently, "Junior brother Xiao, you ran here? Greetings to senior brother Li." Xiaohua respectfully bowed in greeting. Xiaohua's greeting made Li Zongbao's tense face jump slightly. An indescribable expression flashed in his eyes, and he raised his hand to return the greeting. Xiao Mao naturally also came up to greet him. Then, Xiaohua smiled and said, "Hehe, I'll let you know, senior brother Li. I walked around the Sky Patrol City for a while and realized that there were no swordsmen. Even our Path Sect's cultivators had decreased. I had to return to the Sky Patrol City." "Why did you return to the Sky Patrol City?" Li Zongbao frowned. I didn't enter the Sky Patrol City." Xiaohua's heart warmed, and he smiled apologetically. "I just met the patrolling city guards outside the Sky Patrol City." I heard from them that our path sect's disciples had come out in full force to kill the swordsman in the sword catacomb. So, I immediately rushed over. I didn't expect to meet a large group of people before I even reached the sword catacomb. Senior Brother Li, congratulations on making a new contribution in the sword catacomb. You're talking nonsense, Li Zongbao said coldly. The city guards of the Sky Patrol City didn't even know that we came to the sword catacomb. Hee. I naturally met other path sect's disciples who were alone on the way. This kind of trivial matter, I don't have to report it in detail, right? Xiao Hua smiled and looked at where Li Zongbao and the rest came from. He said, Senior Brother Li and the other senior brothers have returned from the sword catacomb so quickly. I guess you must have achieved a very glorious result in this path sect's battle? Yes, very glorious, Li Zongbao said snappily. Now that our path sect's disciples are only left with 100,000 people, it's indeed very glorious. Ah? Why? Xiao Hua turned pale with fright. Li Zongbao glanced at Xiao Hua and waved his hand. Go and ask Xiao Mao. Yes. Xiao Hua turned his head and asked seriously, Junior Brother Xiao, why did you come out with Senior Brother Li? I don't think I called you. Now that the battle is about to end, our special task force in the conference hall has been disbanded. If you stay with Senior Brother Li, won't the Golden Core Masters of your Xunyan school have any opinions about you? Xiao Mao was stunned, and then he felt warm in his heart. He knew that Xiao Hua was concerned about him, but he rolled his eyes and said with a smile, Big brother, who said the battle is over? You weren't in the sword catacomb. How do you know the battle is over? Xiao Hua laughed in his heart. He knew that Xiao Mao was joking, so he said casually, Our path sect's disciples have died like this, and it's still not over? If it's not over, why did you come back? Xiao Mao is not in our Utopia faction, Li Zongbao said lightly. I saw your message, so I called Xiao Mao over. Hee. It's just as Senior Brother Li said. Xiao Mao said with a smile. When I received the message and knew that Big Brother was safe and sound, I was very happy. I immediately reported it to the masters and called Senior Brother Li over. Then, Xiao Mao briefly explained the situation of the battle. It was very simple. It was definitely like a dragonfly skimming the surface of the water, skimming over it. Xiao Hua was too lazy to correct him. He turned his head and asked, Senior Brother Li, how did Master Qian Mo of the Imperial Thunder Sect fall? Who is the culprit? Li Zongbao stared at Xiao Hua for a moment and said word by word. The one who forced Master Qian Mo to self-destruct was LV Ruochang of the Black Phoenix Sword Sect. That day, the nameless senior of the Imperial Thunder Sect already knew. In front of all 100,000 cultivators, he didn't take LV Ruochang's life. You know the details, so what's the use of knowing the culprit? Maybe the nameless senior was afraid that he would lose a lot of your 100,000 cultivators because of a small loss. Xiao Hua sighed. Xiao Mao couldn't take it anymore and said anxiously, Master Qian Mo was so ruthless to Big Brother. He didn't even protect Big Brother in the meeting hall of the Sky Patrol City. His death has nothing to do with Big Brother. Maybe Master Qian Mo is that kind of person. Li Zongbao raised his eyes slightly and looked into the distance. He said, My master has been talking about Master Qian Mo recently. He admires Master Qian Mo a lot. Yes, everyone is different. Everyone's way of doing things is also different. You and I feel that this matter is ruthless, but others feel that it's normal. Xiao Hua naturally agreed. Xiao Mao probably doesn't know about the death of Master Qian Mo. Li Zongbao continued to explain the matter. If Master Qian Mo could leave, he would have left. But he didn't leave. If he left, perhaps we wouldn't have to chase after the sword catacomb. Xiao Mao said unrelentingly. What about the sword catacomb's 10-direction annihilation array? Xiao Hua asked curiously. I can't figure it out even if I break my head. The sword cultivators suppressed the disciples of my Dao sect and fought their way to the sword catacomb. How could they think of setting up an array in the sword catacomb? And how could it kill so many sword cultivator disciples? This is really too strange. Who said it wasn't? Xiao Mao continued. When I found out about this, I was so shocked that my jaw almost dropped. Li Zongbao looked at Xiao Mao and said indifferently, if you want to talk about this matter, it has something to do with your sect's Master Qian Mo. Ah, it's actually Qian Mo's plan? Xiao Hua was shocked. It said that this plan came from Tu Hong, who was assassinated by Qin Jian. Li Zongbao said word by word. However, Qin Jian is already dead. This credit naturally belongs to Qian Mo. Ah? Hearing this, Xiao Hua was even more shocked. He didn't think that Tu Hong would play such an important role in the battle of the Dao sect. Chapter 2702. What's going on? Xiao Hua asked. Thus, Li Zongbao told him everything he got from Heng Heng. Actually, Li Zongbao was also kept in the dark before. He only found out after a few days. On one hand, he admired the arrangement of the sword catacomb. On the other hand, he felt that the sword intent inside the sword catacomb was inconceivable. That sword intent was simply a stroke of genius. If it wasn't for that sword intent, this great array would be complete nonsense. Tu Hong's so-called ambush was also just empty words. After speaking, Li Zongbao looked at Xiao Hua, as if he wanted to get an answer from him. Xiao Hua was even more fascinated when he heard this. At this moment, no one understood the origin of the sword transformation sword insight better than him, no one could sense the coincidence within it better than him, and no one understood the cause and effect within it better than him. Boom! An indescribable fluctuation came from Xiao Hua's karmic hand, which hadn't made any progress for a long time. It enveloped the entire space, and even some of the stars above the heavenly Dao's starry sky changed. Although the change was small, the effect was obvious. The starry sky became clearer, and the veil that covered the heavenly Dao seemed to have lessened by a lot. Xiao Hua's figure flickered faintly, and that pursed smile became even more mysterious. Suddenly, Xiao Hua disappeared, but before Li Zongbao and Xiao Mao could react, Xiao Hua actually reappeared, although Xiao Hua still looked the same after he reappeared. But from the bottom of their hearts, they had an intuition that this didn't seem to be the Xiao Hua from before. Who are you? Xiao Mao was impatient and cared more about Xiao Hua. He immediately shouted. Xiao Hua was stunned. He asked curiously, who am I? Xiao Mao, what do you mean? You are Xiao Hua. Li Zongbao frowned slightly. He used his divine sense to scan Xiao Hua. Strange. What are you two talking about? Xiao Hua scratched his head. If I'm not Xiao Hua, who is Xiao Hua? Why did you suddenly disappear? Xiao Mao asked. I disappeared? How is that possible? Xiao Hua answered without hesitation. I've been standing here all this time. This? Li Zongbao looked at Xiao Mao. Xiao Mao also looked at Li Zongbao. They looked at each other. In truth, Xiao Hua also had some doubts in his heart. The karmic hand within the space had changed, and his entire space was shaking. In particular, the primordial spirit that Xiao Hua had comprehended in the hand of karma gave him a lot of profound insights. Xiao Hua's mind instantly went blank, and he felt as if a long river without a head or tail had filled the entire world. No, it wasn't the sky, nor was it the earth. It was a starry sky. Under the vast starry sky, there was an endless stream of water that was as bright as the Milky Way. Of course, it was only for an instant. Xiao Hua saw Li Zongbao and Xiao Mao again. Regarding their questions, Xiao Huaqing knew that it was caused by the strange situation just now, but he could not explain it. Forget it. You can be whoever you want. What does it have to do with me? Li Zongbao pondered for a moment, then slapped his hand and took out a few storage bags from his bosom. When Xiao Mao saw this, he immediately took out a few storage bags from his bosom. Seeing this, Xiao Hua immediately understood that this was a reward from the conference hall. Why are there so many? Xiao Hua looked at the nearly 10 storage pouches in front of him and couldn't help but be surprised. This is why I called Xiao Mao here, Li Zongbao said indifferently. Killing Qin Jian is your own merit. Xiao Mao and I didn't help at all. This merit, I can take it, but as for the reward, I can't take it. I see. Xiao Hua finally understood why Li Zongbao called Xiao Mao over. He secretly gave Li Zongbao a thumbs up in his heart and said with a smile, "Senior brother Li is too polite." That day, if Senior brother and Xiao Mao didn't risk your lives to charge forward and awaken me from my bloodthirsty state, I might have already been killed by Qin Jian. If you die, we will also die, Li Zongbao said indifferently. So we are doing this for ourselves. Forget it. Xiao Hua waved his hand. Since the merit is shared equally, the reward is the same. I don't want it. Li Zongbao said resolutely. I don't lack these. Moreover, I have already benefited a lot from the battle. These external things will taint my state of mind for no reason. Oh, I see. Xiao Hua nodded and looked deeply at Li Zongbao. Senior brother Li's words. I will remember them in my heart. If Senior brother Li has any errands in the future, please don't hesitate to ask. I will not shirk my duty. Li Zongbao nodded, but there was no look of gratitude on his face. However, Li Zongbao was very satisfied. He knew Xiao Hua very well. The weight of this sentence was heavier than all the rewards added together. A cultivator who had just condensed his core and already had the strength of a nascent soul cultivator. This was an unconditional promise. This was something that no treasure could exchange for. Xiao Mao, you don't have to be so polite. Xiao Hua waved his hand and all the storage bags landed in front of him. You can take half of them and leave the rest to me, big brother. Xiao Mao said respectfully. You can take your pick first. No matter how many there are, the rest belongs to me. Oh, hee, okay. Xiao Hua did not stand on ceremony as he looked through the storage bags one by one. Even though he had told Fairy Hong Xia that he did not mind, he was still dumbfounded when he saw so many spirit stones, spiritual herbs, pills, and skills. So many. Xiao Hua muttered. You don't know how many people Qin Jian has killed. Li Zongbao said coldly. You don't know how many people want Qin Jian dead. All the sects have offered a reward for finding the culprit. Especially the sects that have lost their disciples. They are offering huge rewards. Xiao Mao explained. How many years has it been? We have accumulated too much. Okay. Xiao Hua began to take out the cultivation techniques and handed them to Xiao Mao. I will leave these to you. Make a copy for me. Okay. Xiao Mao didn't hesitate. After taking them, he began to take action. Then, Xiao Hua divided the Dharma artifacts and treasures into two and took one for himself. As for the spiritual stones, Xiao Hua didn't leave a single one for Xiao Mao. He said, with too many spiritual stones, your heart will be messed up. You are still young. I will take care of these things for you. Xiao Hua picked up some spiritual herbs that he didn't have in his storage bag and took all the pills that Xiao Mao didn't need. Then, he handed the storage bags to Xiao Mao and said, Big brother, I have finished picking. These are all yours. So much? This time, it was Xiao Mao's turn to be shocked. Big brother, this is too much. I feel guilty. You still have a long way to go. Xiao Hua said earnestly. Moreover, in Xuanyan school, there are many people you need to rely on. These things might be useful. Isn't it the same for Big Brother? Xiao Mao said and insisted on taking something out. Xiao Hua thought for a moment and nodded. Then take a look. If there is anything you don't need, give it to Big Brother. In the end, Xiao Mao actually wanted to give half of it to Xiao Hua. How could Xiao Hua accept it? He only asked for 30%. They were all rare items that Xiao Mao had no use for. Li Zongbao watched the two of them pushing back and forth to divide the items. He patiently clapped his hands and took out a token and handed it to Xiao Hua, saying, other than the reward from the discussion hall, this is a special reward from your Imperial Thunder Sect. Oh, what is this? Xiao Hua asked curiously. Looking at the faintly discernible lightning on the token and a fist-sized amnesty character in the middle of the lightning, Xiao Hua asked curiously. Sect Master's Special Pardon Order. Xiao Mao smiled and took out a token that was similar to the Imperial Thunder Sect's Sect Master's Special Pardon Order. Senior brother Li specially asked for this for Big Brother. Although Li Zongbao didn't say it clearly, Xiao Mao already knew and explained. Sect Master's Special Pardon Order? Xiao Hua was extremely surprised. He knew that this was the surprise that Fairy Hongxia was talking about. He took the special pardon order and looked it up and down. He also immersed his divine sense in it and saw the image of Master Qian lay inside. It was similar to the token he gave Zhong Haoren, but the Master Qian lay inside said, "This is my Imperial Thunder Sect Master's special pardon order. I, Master Qian lay, am the Imperial Thunder Sect Master. Those who hold this token, no matter how serious their crimes are, can be pardoned. This token can only be used once. Senior brother Li, little brother, what do you want this for?" Xiao Hua looked at Li Zongbao, not knowing whether to laugh or cry. Li Zongbao stared at Xiao Hua and looked at him for a while, then waved his hand and said, "If you think it's useless, then it's useless. Anyway, the rewards are already enough. This special pardon order, it's just a decoration." Tu Hong. Xiao Hua looked at Li Zongbao's eyes and knew that he was worried about this. He smiled and said, "No matter what, this is Senior Brother Li's concern for this little brother. This little brother thanks Senior Brother. Keep it well." Li Zongbao said lightly, "Maybe it'll be useful." Speaking until here, Li Zongbao suddenly stopped. He suddenly realized that if Xiao Hua was Wu Ming, his cultivation would not be inferior to Shui Yuzhinren by too much. This sect master's special pardon order is really useless. Suddenly, a feeling of, "It's not my concern. It's just that he's flying too fast," arose spontaneously. As soon as this thought came into his mind, Li Zongbao was immediately moved and lost interest. It was as if he had done a lot of hard work, only to find that it was useless in the end. Li Zongbao's expression was calm, and Xiao Hua couldn't tell what he was thinking. He just casually put away the sect leader's special pardon token and said, "Senior Martial Brother Li, the war seems to have come to an end. Presumably, the nascent soul masters of the various sects in the 3 cultivation countries have already made preparations. We, the special task force of the conference hall, should also be disbanded. These hundreds of thousands of disciples, what should we do with them? Although the outcome of the battle has already been decided, the nascent soul masters have yet to receive any news. By the time they send their troops over, it will be a matter of several months later. During this period of time, we still need to cultivate in Sky Patrol City and patrol the vicinity of Sky Patrol City. In addition, when the Golden Core Masters in the conference hall sent a message to the sect, they had already discussed that the survival of our hundreds of thousands of disciples is all thanks to Senior Wu Ming of the Imperial Thunder Sect. This last merit also belongs to the Imperial Thunder Sect. We have been fighting for several years. It's time for us to take a break. The conference hall has already issued an order that all disciples can rest and return to the sect when the nascent soul masters arrive." Li Zongbao glanced at Xiao Mao and said, "As for the special task force of the conference hall, the Golden Core Masters in the conference hall are prepared to award us for meritorious service in this war. The name of this team will be used forever." "Oh, ha ha ha." Xiao Hua clapped his hands and said, "I didn't expect that the 3 of us will be recorded in history in the future." "Of course." Xiao Mao smiled and said, 3 Foundation Establishment disciples killing a 3rd-grade illusory swordsman. This is also rare in the history of the war between Dao cultivators. If we don't go down in history, who will? Extreme joy begets sorrow. Extreme joy begets sorrow. Xiao Hua whispered, "It's better to keep a low profile. Don't let others keep an eye on us. Maybe, after the war, there will be many cultivators looking for us to learn from each other." "Oh, isn't that so? This is big trouble." Xiao Mao came to a realization. All these don't matter. Li Zongbao waved his hand and said, "Because of this, the special task force of the conference hall, Junior Brother Xiao Mao, if you have any problems, you can directly look for me, or look for your big brother Xiao to solve it. And if Junior Brother Xiao has any problems, you can also look for me and Junior Brother Xiao Mao to solve it. This matter has already been discussed by my master and martial uncle Gao Wei of Xuanyan cult, and at the same time, it has also been approved by the various masters in the conference hall. The news has already been sent to the Imperial Thunder Sect along with the battle report. Chapter 2703. Oh, I see. Xiao Hua immediately understood that the special task force of the meeting hall was not only about the three of them, but also about the Imperial Thunder Sect, Utopia Faction, and Xuanyan School. Sigh. These Golden Core Masters may not be good at war, but they are really clear-headed and open-minded in other aspects. Xiao Hua could only admire them in his heart. Because of the existence of this team, Xiao Hua, you can still listen to my orders. Li Zongbao said, if you don't want to go back to Sky Patrol City, you can patrol around. Later. At this point, Li Zongbao hesitated and looked at Xiao Mao. Xiao Hua understood that Li Zongbao was discussing with him about going to Luoyang. This time, Xiao Hua was caught off guard. He promised Li Zongbao to go to the Kai family in Luoyang after the war, and he promised Fairy Hongxia to go to Meng Mountain during the war. But he did not expect these two things to happen together. Senior brother Li. Without waiting for Li Zongbao to send him a message, Xiao Hua said anxiously, this? Whoosh! At this moment, a messaging charm flew over and landed in front of Xiao Hua. Who is it? Xiao Hua asked knowingly. He picked up the messaging charm and looked at it, then smiled and said, Senior brother Li, please wait a moment. Li Zongbao's expression relaxed, as if he was relieved. Xiao Hua waved his hand, and the communication talisman flew back. In less than the time it takes to brew a cup of tea, Fairy Hongxia arrived. Fairy Hongxia was familiar with the two of them, so she greeted them casually and smiled at Xiao Hua. You're lucky. The sword catacomb battle is over, and the whole war is over. And your matter is also over? You're only here now? Haha, I'm lucky. Xiao Hua replied with a smile. I believe senior brother Li has already told you about the situation of the battle. Fairy Hongxia glanced at Li Zongbao and asked Xiao Hua. Yes. Xiao Hua nodded. Since the war has come to an end, I should do what I promised you. Good. Fairy Hongxia smiled and said, I've already asked for leave from Uncle Xiang Ming. I just need to come back before the nascent Soul Masters arrive in Sky Patrol City. If it's convenient for you. It's convenient. Xiao Hua did not wait for Fairy Hongxia to finish speaking before he smiled and said, This Xiao is still part of the special task force of the discussion hall and is under the command of senior brother Li. As long as he agrees, everything will be ready. Where are you going? Li Zongbao felt a bit strange, but he also understood Xiao Hua's hesitation. Xiao Hua did not know if he could reveal Fairy Hongxia's matter, so he glanced at Fairy Hongxia. Instead, Fairy Hongxia smiled and said, Senior brother Li, please know that I have something to do with Xiao Hua. I'm going to Million Meng Mountains with Xiao Hua. This matter involves the affairs of my family, so it's not convenient for me to tell you. 1 million Meng Mountains? Upon hearing the words of Fairy Hongxia, Li Zongbao's face revealed a look of astonishment, as well as an inexplicable and strange expression. So, Xiao Hua looked at Li Zongbao's expression and said apologetically, Regarding the matter of the red clouds, we had already made an agreement. The agreement was made during the war, and the agreement with Big Brother Li was made after the war. I understand. The strange expression on Li Zongbao's face faded, and he said calmly, Actually, what I wanted to say just now is also 1 million Meng Mountains. Not? Xiao Hua was shocked, and he almost said Luoyang. Yes, it is 1 million Meng Mountains. Li Zongbao confirmed again. This? Fairy Hongxia smiled bitterly and said in a low voice, Senior brother Li, my going to Million Meng Mountains is completely a private matter of my Kai family. Yes, I understand. Li Zongbao nodded slightly. My destination should be the same as yours. The same as mine? Fairy Hongxia was even more shocked. Xiao Hua glanced at Li Zongbao and then at Fairy Hongxia. He understood that Li Zongbao had misunderstood, but on second thought, he was moved by Li Zongbao's infatuation. Senior brother Li, Xiao Hua said in a low voice. Could it be because of Tu Hong? Li Zongbao raised his eyebrows and said with some hesitation and determination, Exactly. I wanted to give up on this idea, but when I saw you Meng, I couldn't help but have some extravagant hope. This matter is extremely important to me, just like the growth of my cultivation. But it's already been decades. I think the white bones have already appeared. Xiao Hua smiled bitterly. What decades? What white bones? Fairy Hongxia was confused. Tell junior sister Hongxia in detail. Li Zongbao gritted his teeth and said in a low voice. Xiao Mao quickly bowed and said, Senior brother Li, big brother. No need. My heart is clear to the sun and moon. Junior brother Xiao, you don't have to avoid it. Li Zongbao waved his hand to stop him. Xiao Hua looked at Li Zongbao's determination and knew that this matter was a knot in Li Zongbao's heart, and now was the time to resolve it. Hongxia, do you still remember what I said when I brought your sister Kai Zhuoxia's body back to Luyang? Xiao Hua turned to look at Fairy Hongxia, and there was a trace of sadness on his face. Sister. Fairy Hongxia was stunned. After all, Kai Zhuoxia had passed away for decades, and as her sister, she often thought of her. She would never have thought that when Li Zongbao mentioned it now, Xiao Hua would remember it even more. In an instant, Fairy Hongxia's face flushed red. She seemed to have understood something. Her eyes widened and she covered her mouth with her hands. She looked at Li Zongbao with an incredulous expression. She even pointed at Li Zongbao and stammered, that person, that can't be told to sister, is you? Li Zongbao didn't agree, but he nodded slightly. Fairy Hongxia immediately understood why Li Zongbao had always been so protective of her. It wasn't only because of Xiao Hua, but also because of her sister. Instantly, Fairy Hongxia's heart was filled with sadness. Yes, her sister Kai Zhuoxia was only a low-level female cultivator at level 6 of the Qi refining stage, and she was from a cultivation family, a nameless Kai family of Luyang. What about Li Zongbao? At that time, she was already a famous genius cultivator in the Dawn Rain continent, and had already reached the peak of level 12 of the Qi refining stage. In addition, she was from the Utmost Happiness faction. Her sister was definitely not worthy of such a status. However, in addition to her sadness, Fairy Hongxia's heart was filled with joy, and she had a new confidence in love in this world. That day, Kai Zhuoxia had used the sky-stealing sun-swapping technique to hide her beauty. Li Zongbao didn't care about Kai Zhuoxia's appearance, but instead fell in love with her. At this time, he even wanted to accompany her to the Meng Mountains. Although Li Zongbao didn't allow Xiao Hua to reveal his identity that day, that was for the sake of the Kai family of Luyang, and he had his reasons. Fairy Hongxia's heart couldn't bear any resentment at all. Oh yes, Xiao Hua. Fairy Hongxia turned to Xiao Hua and asked, the cause of my sister's death, you didn't dare to tell me back then. Now that your cultivation has reached such a level, and you've told me about senior brother and sister, shouldn't you tell me the reason? Fairy Hongxia had wanted to ask Xiao Hua for a long time, but she was afraid that Xiao Hua would be put in a difficult position, so she took the opportunity to ask him today. Yes, of course I can tell you now. Xiao Hua nodded. Actually, it's very simple. Xiao Hua had already told Li Zongbao the cause of Kai Zhuoxia's death, and now he repeated it in front of Li Zongbao. Finally, he said, that day, the actions of Misty Mountain and Flying Phoenix Ridge in Flaming Forest Marsh were their secret, and I didn't dare to reveal it. I was afraid that it would affect the Kai family of Luyang. Now that Flying Phoenix Ridge has been destroyed, Misty Mountain is nothing, so I can tell you now. Fairy Hongxia naturally knew about the relationship between Misty Mountain and Xue Xue, and subconsciously turned away. However, when she heard that her sister had done so much for the Kai family of Luyang, Fairy Hongxia's eyes turned red again. Big brother, you found the location of the Fire Essence Flame Crystal. It's where senior sister Kai died, right? Xiao Mao didn't expect that the Fire Essence Flame Crystal he used was also the cause of Kai Zhuoxia's death. Yes, that's right. Xiao Hua smiled bitterly. It was when your Xuanyan cult got the news of the Fire Essence Flame Crystal from Zhuo Qingyuan that we went to Flaming Forest Marsh. Sigh. Xiao Mao sighed. He didn't expect that Kai Zhuoxia's death was related to him. But Senior brother, why did you follow me to Million Meng Mountains? Fairy Hongxia addressed Li Zongbao as her senior brother, and she had long regarded Li Zongbao as her family. Li Zongbao sighed. I've long heard that the soul cultivators in Million Meng Mountains have a secret technique that allows people to meet the dead. Previously, Majia wanted Xiao Hua to accompany Majia to Luyang's Kai family. But, thinking about it, if I could meet Zhuoxia in Million Meng Mountains, wouldn't that be even better? Senior brother. Fairy Hongxia bit her lips and nodded. Since senior brother is so obsessed with my sister, I can rest in peace even in the underworld. Oh, don't tell me. You didn't go to Million Meng Mountains for this reason? Li Zongbao hurriedly asked. Fairy Hongxia also hurriedly smiled and said, Of course, I had such intentions, but I didn't expect that senior brother would actually. That's why I didn't mention it earlier. Since that's the case, senior brother naturally has to follow us. Fine. Xiao Hua's heart was filled with darkness. If he had known earlier, Senior brother, please follow us to Million Meng Mountains. Xiao Hua, what do you say? Fairy Hongxia glared at Xiao Hua and said, Of course, senior brother Li's cultivation base is extremely high, and he'll be of great help to us. How could Xiao Hua not nod? I'm not familiar with Million Meng Mountains, and it's actually very strange. If senior brother Li follows us, he'll definitely be of great help. I'll go too. Xiao Mao hurriedly shouted. Why are you joining in the fun? Xiao Hua was unhappy for no reason and glared at Xiao Mao. He couldn't stop Li Zongbao from going to Million Meng Mountains, but if Xiao Mao wanted to go, he could naturally stop him. Xiao Mao shrunk his head and didn't say anything else, as if he was about to retreat. He couldn't ignore Xiao Hua's words. Unexpectedly, Li Zongbao pointed at him and said, Of course you have to go. I don't want to be bored alone. Fairy Hongxia's face was slightly red as she said, If junior brother Xiao wants to go, of course you can, but you should first ask for leave from the Xuanyan school's teachers. Yes, I'll. Xiao Mao's face lit up with joy. Woo! A sharp sound, similar to the sound of a sword, came from afar. A ray of light flew over at an extremely fast speed and stopped in front of Xiao Hua. Oh? My communication talisman? Xiao Hua looked and saw that it was actually the communication talisman that he refined. He couldn't help but be stunned. Looking at Fairy Hongxia and the rest, he whispered, Who is this? Fairy Hongxia was in an extremely good mood as she smiled and said, Perhaps it's a female cultivator? Che, how is that possible? Xiao Hua had already thought about it. He didn't seem to have given the communication talisman that he refined to other female cultivators. Why don't you see for yourself? Fairy Hongxia smiled. Xiao Hua stretched out his hand, took the communication talisman, and sent his divine sense into it. It was fine if he didn't see it, but once he saw it, his expression changed drastically. He didn't have time to explain anything and said to Li Zongbao and the rest, You all follow the disciples to Sky Patrol City first. Over here. A close relative's life is in danger. I can't not go. Once I'm done, I'll immediately rush to Sky Patrol City to look for you all. After saying that, without waiting for Fairy Hongxia to say anything, Xiao Hua's figure flashed as lightning flashed around his body. He used the hibernating thunder escape and flew towards the direction of the communication talisman. Chapter 2704. Close relatives? Who could it be? Fairy Hongxia could not help but look at Li Zongbao and Xiao Mao, who were bewildered. Shui? Impossible. She's in Imperial Thunder Sect. Then, who else could it be? Li Zongbao looked at Xiao Hua flying further and further away. He flicked his sleeves and said, Let's go. We'll return to Sky Patrol City first. From what I know, if Xiao Hua did not have a reason to go, he would not be in such a hurry. I know. Fairy Hongxia knew that Li Zongbao was afraid that she would misunderstand and was explaining for Xiao Hua. She nodded and said, It's good that Xiao Hua is going. We still have some free time. Let's use this time to rush back to Sky Patrol City and make some preparations to inquire about Million Men in Meng Mountain. That's right. Li Zongbao flicked his sleeves and flew into the air first. Sigh. Li Zongbao was so cold. Wasn't it because of Kai Zhuoxia? Fairy Hong Xia could not help but sigh and said to herself, "What is love in this world? It makes people so devoted." After Xiao Hua used the hibernating thunder escape to fly for a moment, he immediately stepped on the sound of thunder and flew rapidly towards the south. He flew straight for the time it took to eat a meal before he stopped. He released his Buddhist awareness to look again and again, but he couldn't distinguish it. So, Xiao Hua clapped his hands and took out a message talisman that was emitting a faint black gas. It was given to Xiao Hua by Zhang Qingxiao. He used a little magic to activate the message talisman, and it flew towards the southwest again. Sigh. Xiao Hua was extremely helpless. He flew up and chased in the direction of the message talisman. In less than half a cup of tea's time, a strange black shadow also flew over from the direction of the transmission talisman. That figure was extremely light and extremely fast. It stopped about 10 zhang away from Xiao Hua, and the figure was revealed. It was Zhang Qingxiao's peerless and handsome figure. Xiao Hua had already seen Zhang Qingxiao's flickering figure through his Buddhist sense. At the same time, he also released his Buddhist sense to the left. Seeing that there was no one else, he couldn't help but look at Zhang Qingxiao, who stopped in midair. He asked curiously, "What? You came alone?" "Yutong is still in Huan country. Naturally, I came alone." Zhang Qingxiao nodded. Didn't you say you wanted to kill someone? Where is he?" Xiao Hua asked in a bad mood. Zhang Qingxiao raised her eyebrows and said, "I want you to kill someone, but they didn't say it's now. If I don't kill him now, what kind of message are you sending me?" Xiao Hua asked curiously. "I miss you, so I came to see you," Zhang Qingxiao said with a strange expression. "TSK, you better think about your sword cultivator sister." Xiao Hua waved his hand and said, "I still have things to do. If there's nothing else, I'll return to Sky Patrol City first." After saying that, Xiao Hua turned around and prepared to leave. "Stop!" Zhang Qingxiao shouted angrily. "If I had nothing to do, why would I look for you? Even if it's not to kill that person, it must be something important." "What's so important about it?" Xiao Hua felt a little strange. "You have a group of devil cultivators from the 13 sacred sects behind you. Is there anything you can't do on this Dawn Rain continent?" "Tisk," Zhang Qingxiao laughed. "You actually know quite a lot. If you don't want people to know, don't do it in the first place." Xiao Hua replied with a smile. "I've done so much to let people know. If I don't want people to know, how would you know?" Zhang Qingxiao retorted Xiao Hua without holding back. Xiao Hua's heart moved and said with a smile, "Why? You want to announce Heavenly Devil Sect to the public?" "That's right." Zhang Qingxiao raised her head and waved her hand. "When the time comes, my Heavenly Devil Sect will be famous all over the world. At that time, who knows how many people will want to join my Heavenly Devil Sect. Not to mention wanting to be my Heavenly Devil Sect's vice sect master." Xiao Hua shrugged and curled his lips, not caring at all. He even snorted from his nose and said, "Whoever wants to be can be. This young master doesn't like it." "Your grandmother." Zhang Qingxiao scolded and shouted, "You want to be? I won't let you be. It's just a vice sect master. Why would this young master care? If this young master wants to be, I'll also be the sect master." Xiao Hua muttered unwillingly in his heart. Zhang Qingxiao's heart moved and she said with a smile, "Io, that's right. Could it be that junior brother also wants to establish a sect?" Xiao Hua was somewhat depressed. Facing this second senior brother of a devil cultivator, he couldn't gain any advantage. He still revealed a trace of flaw in his words. Even if this young master wants to, he won't pick any time. Xiao Hua hurriedly made up for it. At this point, he suddenly had a kind of realization and slapped his forehead. I also understand. The opportunity that the famous Heavenly Devil Sect master is looking for is the great battle of nascent soul Dao cultivators. Zhang Qingxiao didn't have the slightest intention to be angry from being guessed. She said with a smile, "That's right, you finally have a trace of awareness and thought of this matter. This old master is avoiding nascent soul cultivators to establish a sect. What's there to be ashamed of? This old master hasn't reached nascent soul cultivation yet." At this point, Zhang Qingxiao seemed to have thought of something and said curiously, "That's right. The sword cultivators have already led the Dao sect cultivators into the sword tomb. Why didn't you go? Your Dao sect's disciples are probably going to die this time. Don't you feel heartache?" "This young master doesn't feel heartache? What's the matter?" Xiao Hua blinked his eyes. He knew that although Zhang Qingxiao sent disciples to be concerned about the great battle of Dao cultivators and prepare for the establishment of her heavenly devil sect, this great battle was after all within the sword tomb. It was still very difficult for the devil sect's disciples to investigate. Even when the sword tomb changed, the heavenly devil sect's disciples didn't have time to report the specific situation to Zhang Qingxiao. Look at your appearance." Zhang Qingxiao was a bit puzzled. "Haven't you always bemoaned the state of the universe and pitted the fate of mankind? Haven't you always saved the ignorant from water and fire? Why did you change your attitude this time?" "Oh, that's right, did you finish giving out the spirit seeds again?" Zhang Qingxiao's sentence reminded Xiao Hua. Xiao Hua unceremoniously slapped his hand and took out another storage pouch. Are you done?" Zhang Qingxiao was really flustered and exasperated. "This old master came to find you, not to ask you for rice seeds. Then what exactly do you want?" Xiao Hua said with a smile and still threw the storage pouch to Zhang Qingxiao. "Damn your grandmother." Zhang Qingxiao also laughed and took the storage pouch and put it in her bosom. She seemed to be the same as Xiao Hua. To anything and everyone, she had a feeling of being at ease. However, when it came to this mysterious junior brother Xiao, she didn't have any confidence. She had a feeling of having a guilty conscience, so when they met, they opposed each other with equal harshness. Sarcastically retorting was a kind of uncontrollable behavior. "What you did, don't you know?" Zhang Qingxiao laughed and asked again. Xiao Hua was even more baffled and asked curiously, "What did I do? How come I don't know? On the contrary, you know." Where did you get the Buddhist cultivation method that you gave to Jiang Luer?" Zhang Qingxiao said with a cold snort. "After Luer read your cultivation method, she immediately fainted. Junior sister has never used the messaging talisman before, but this time she urgently sent a message to me. Luer is her favorite. The good thing you did. Don't tell me you want me to clean up your mess? How is that possible?" Xiao Hua turned pale with fright and said anxiously, "That Buddhist cultivation method was obtained from the Yin-Yang Twin Springs mountain from a Buddhist cultivator's storage pouch. Although I didn't practice it, it's indeed orthodox Buddhist. Even the Buddhist weapon in the storage pouch is very powerful. Whether it's orthodox Buddhist or not, I don't know. I'm only the sect leader of the heavenly demonic sect, not the sect leader of the Buddhist sect." Zhang Qingxiao waved her hand and said, "This matter started because of you, so you have to solve it. If I don't look for you, who else should I look for? Why didn't you tell me earlier about such a big matter?" Xiao Hua said anxiously. "Why are you still dawdling here with me?" Xiao Hua said and was about to fly into the air. "Now you're anxious." Zhang Qingxiao sneered. "Luer has been unconscious for many days. According to junior sister, his life is not in danger. Besides, why didn't you go to the Sky Patrol City to use the teleportation formation? Why did you fly to the wilderness in the south?" I know there's a teleportation formation in the Sky Patrol City," Xiao Hua said evasively. "Ha ha ha, you killed Tu Hong, right?" Zhang Qingxiao laughed. "You really have guts. You actually killed Tu Hong in front of the Shui region sage. This kind of thing, even I wouldn't dare to do it. That bastard Tu Hong deserves to die." Xiao Hua narrowed his eyes and looked at Zhang Qingxiao. He didn't hide it and said hatefully, "He plotted to kill hundreds of thousands of disciples and even wanted to harm the disciples of the Imperial Thunder sect. If I don't kill him, who should I kill? You killed him to your heart's content. Zhang Qingxiao said coldly, "From what I can see, apart from Tu Hong, who is a talented commander, the rest of the Dao sect cultivators are just a motley crew. By killing Tu Hong, you are personally leading the Dao sect cultivators to destruction. So what if it's destruction? This kind of person who offends the heavens and reason can't be allowed to live in this world, even if he has great talent," Xiao Hua said unceremoniously. "TSK. What right do you have to say that?" Zhang Qingxiao smirked. "That's what I want to do." "So what?" Xiao Hua sneered. "Are you going to leave or not?" "Haha, of course I'm leaving. But you have to wait a moment." Zhang Qingxiao stretched out a finger and shook it slightly. Xiao Hua suddenly realized that Zhang Qingxiao didn't have time to talk nonsense with him. So there was something else. Thus, Xiao Hua didn't say anything. He clapped his hands and took out a few spirit pills from the space and put them into his mouth, slowly refining his true origin. When he was condensing his gold core in the sword tomb, he had opened up a set of foundation establishment meridians in an inconceivably short amount of time. The foundation establishment realm of this set of meridians was extremely unstable, and at the same time it also led to the instability of his gold core realm. Therefore, his main task now was to stabilize these newly opened meridians and stabilize his gold core realm. Xiao Hua knew that no one could answer him in this kind of situation. He could only cultivate according to the foundation establishment cultivation method. He would first refine his true essence, and after his realm had stabilized, he would then practice the gold core cultivation method. Chapter 2705. However, thinking of the golden core cultivation method in the space, Xiao Hua looked up at Zhang Qingxiao, who was standing there calmly, and felt warmth in his heart. Although the two of them opposed each other as soon as they met, Zhang Qingxiao still helped him at the crucial moment. Thinking of this, Xiao Hua's heart suddenly moved, and he said, "Second senior brother." "Oh, what's the matter?" Zhang Qingxiao naturally covered her storage bag and said, "Why did you suddenly call me senior brother? Damn it, have I not given you enough things?" Xiao Hua was angry. "I just wanted to tell you something, and you treat me like this? Ha ha ha. It's good that you don't want things." Zhang Qingxiao was relieved and raised her eyebrows. "What is it? Good or bad?" "Bad," Xiao Hua said decisively. "Oh?" Zhang Qingxiao's expression froze. "Is it related to Yellow Flower Ridge?" "No, it's related to Zhang Yutong." "Oh," Zhang Qingxiao's expression relaxed. "What happened to Yutong?" Xiao Hua originally wanted to tease Zhang Qingxiao, but thinking of his concern for Zhang Yutong, he didn't dare to speak carelessly. He just shook his head and said, "It's not about Zhang Yutong. It's about Zhang Yuha." "Oh, Zhang Yuha? She actually appeared in the Battle of Dao Cultivators?" Zhang Qingxiao was stunned. Zhang Yuha was originally a chess piece that he had set up. Who would have thought that Zhang Yuha would suddenly disappear when she returned to Huan country, disrupting his plan? But fortunately, in the end, the great battle between Dao cultivators still broke out. Although he had not achieved his goal of killing Yuanian cultivators, the Heavenly Devil sect was about to take shape. Today, when he suddenly heard Xiao Hua mention Zhang Yuha, it really surprised him. She didn't appear in the Battle of Dao Cultivators. She died. Xiao Hua shook his head, secretly wondering if he should tell Zhang Qingxiao about the Yu family on Fallen Gold Mountain. How did she die? Did he die before, or did he die now? Zhang Qingxiao asked as expected. She died now. Xiao Hua hesitated for a moment and said softly. Zhang Qingxiao heard and seemed relieved. She nodded and said, "That's good. If that's the case, it has nothing to do with me. I don't need to listen to Yutong's nagging anymore." Then, Zhang Qingxiao didn't ask another word. Zhang Qingxiao didn't ask anymore, but Xiao Hua felt somewhat uncomfortable. After all, Zhang Yuha was Zhang Yutong's twin sister. Xiao Hua had to tell Zhang Yutong about her death. Thinking of this, Xiao Hua clapped his hands and took out the yin-yang sword gourd. He handed it to Zhang Qingxiao and said, "Look at what this is." Zhang Qingxiao didn't even look at Xiao Hua. She unceremoniously took it, looked at it again and again and said, It seems to be a sword cultivator's yin-yang sword gourd. But how did it become one? And there are actually two types of yin and yang in it. It's a little strange. Xiao Hua couldn't help but be envious of Zhang Qingxiao's vast knowledge. At the same time, his heart was moved. He originally wanted to ask Zhang Qingxiao about the origin of the small fight, but now he wanted to know if the small fight could stump Zhang Qingxiao. Zhang Qingxiao could not see anything strange and naturally looked at Xiao Hua. He knew that Xiao Hua would not take out the sword gourd for no reason. This is the great yin-yang six directions sword spirit. Xiao Hua pointed his hand. That day, Zhang Yuhe and Zhang Yutong came to Meng for this. How could this be the great yin-yang six directions sword spirit? Zhang Qingxiao laughed. Yutong told me that day, and my disciples also paid attention to it. But the conditions to refine the great yin-yang six directions sword spirit are too harsh, and the materials needed are too rare. I still have to worry about the establishment of the sect, so I didn't pay attention to her. Could it be that you want to give this to Yutong? Don't even think about it. Xiao Hua shook his head and said, This is indeed the great yin-yang six directions sword spirit. Zhang Yuhe is one of the six directions yin spirits. What? She was actually refined into a six directions yin spirit? Zhang Qingxiao was also in extreme disbelief, and then he laughed loudly. Ha ha ha. The heavenly Tao is really retribution. She always wanted to refine others into sword spirits, but now she was too smart and caused Qingqing's life. She herself was refined into a sword spirit. What a joke! Hearing Zhang Qingxiao's words, Xiao Hua already knew that Zhang Qingxiao must know the refining method of the great yin-yang six directions sword spirit. Quick! Xiao Hua didn't say anything. He made a sword sign and pointed his finger. Two green and red sword lights soared into the sky. As soon as the sword lights flew out, Zhang Qingxiao's expression changed drastically, and an inexplicable fear appeared on his face. Keep! Xiao Hua wasn't very familiar with the control of the yin-yang sword gourd, so he didn't dare to demonstrate it. He hurriedly kept it and looked at Zhang Qingxiao's deflated expression with a smile, asking, Could it be that this isn't the great yin-yang six directions sword spirit? Zhang Qingxiao looked at the yin-yang sword gourd in fear, and the expression in his eyes was very complicated. After listening to Xiao Hua's question, he shook his head and said, This thing looks like a sword spirit, but it seems to have surpassed the category of a sword spirit. It seems to be an extremely powerful thing, but I can't remember it at the moment. Spirit slaying vital light. Xiao Hua immediately thought of the name of the yin-yang sword spirit. What second senior brother is talking about? Could it be the spirit slaying vital light? As Xiao Hua called out the name, Zhang Qingxiao's face showed a look of realization. Yes, it's the spirit slaying vital light. But then, Zhang Qingxiao shook his head again. No, this is not the real spirit slaying vital light. The real spirit slaying vital light is pale white. Oh, I understand. This is the spirit slaying vital light that hasn't been refined yet. Oh my, it's really the most ferocious thing in the demon realm. Zhang Qingxiao almost shrank his neck. This is just the spirit slaying vital light that hasn't been refined yet, but it has such power. I can't resist it. Then, Zhang Qingxiao laughed again. Ha ha ha. The heavens are really helping me. Junior brother has the spirit slaying vital light. Why would I be afraid of someone from the devil sect? You're thinking too much. Xiao Hua sneered. I just got this thing and haven't refined it yet. I don't even know how to use it. That's easy. Zhang Qingxiao beamed with joy and returned the yin-yang sword gourd to Xiao Hua. He slapped his forehead with his palm, and a strange fluctuation rippled out from between his eyebrows. In an instant, it covered Zhang Qingxiao. Then, the fluctuation seeped out traces of black smoke. The black smoke extended out like tentacles and danced with the fluctuation, gradually covering Zhang Qingxiao's figure. Xiao Hua naturally knew that Zhang Qingxiao was using the devil sect's secret technique, so he released his spiritual sense to help him be on guard. In the blink of an eye, the black smoke around Zhang Qingxiao's body slowly disappeared, and his figure was also revealed. However, it was obvious that Zhang Qingshao's face was slightly pale, and it seemed that the loss was not small. This is the devil Qi. Xiao Hua looked at the black smoke around Zhang Qingshao and thought, if you want to cultivate the devil technique, you must have devil Qi. I don't know how second senior brother did it, but if I ask, it will definitely involve his privacy. Forget it, everyone's fate is different. Why should I cultivate the devil technique? The refining of the 5 elements wishful heaven staff doesn't necessarily need the devil technique. Seeing the black smoke disappear, Zhang Qingshao slapped his hand and took out a jade slip from his chest. The black smoke in his hand lingered endlessly. After a cup of tea's time, Zhang Qingshao let out a long breath and threw the jade slip to Xiao Hua. He said somewhat tiredly, "Here, this is the refining and usage method of the death spirit Yuan light. I used the devil sex technique to record it. You can also use the Buddhist sex spiritual sense to check it. I won't waste any effort." "Thank you, second senior brother." Xiao Hua didn't look at it and immediately put it into his space. He said very respectfully, "Don't thank me. I'm doing this for myself." Zhang Qingshao waved his hand and said, "This death spirit Yuan light is extremely powerful, and the refining process is also extremely complicated. Even if you're in the Dawn Rain continent, it's unlikely that you can successfully refine it." Xiao Hua was startled, and then he said with a smile, "I didn't intend to refine the death spirit Yuan light. As long as I can control it, I didn't expect second senior brother to be so generous. It's just, here I might as well give it to you all at once." Zhang Qingshao waved his hand. "Is that so? Is there still a golden core cultivation method? Is there still a nascent soul cultivation method?" Xiao Hua asked shamelessly. Zhang Qingshao covered his storage pouch and said resolutely, "Don't even think about it. Do you know what the death spirit Yuan light is? It's the primordial killing light that can kill all living things. Once covered by this killing light, all living things will have no way to survive. With this death spirit Yuan light, it's more powerful than any nascent soul cultivation method. As long as you successfully refine this death spirit Yuan light, who in the Dawn Rain continent can be your opponent? Che, you already said that this death spirit Yuan light is in the Dawn Rain continent." Speaking up to here, Xiao Hua suddenly froze. That's right. Even someone as powerful as Zhang Qingshao didn't know the refining method of the death spirit Yuan light, and even the method to use it. How could fallen gold mountains Yu family know? The strangest thing was that Yu Qingtian was dead, and this Yutong seemed to be younger than him. How could he refine the death spirit Yuan light? Of course, fallen gold mountains Yu family might also have an inheritance, but this inheritance seemed to point directly to the 10,000 demon realm. What's wrong? Zhang Qingshao also saw the deep shock in Xiao Hua's eyes and asked curiously. Little brother was just about to tell second senior brother about Zhang Yuha's death. Immediately, Xiao Hua didn't dare to hide anything and hurriedly recounted what he encountered in the sword tomb. What? 100,000? Hundreds of thousands of cultivators? Blood sacrifice? Damn it, is my heavenly demon sect a demon sect? Or is this fallen gold mountains Yu family? Or Huanhua sect a demon sect? Zhang Qingshao was really shocked. Even if I want to sacrifice cultivators, I still have to think about it, right? In this world, what is a demon? What is Tao? If a demon is good, then it's Tao. If a Taoist is evil, then it's a demon. Xiao Hua said coldly, "Otherwise, how could I recognize you as second senior brother?" Chapter 2706. I really don't care about letting you recognize this second senior brother. Zhang Qingshao also sneered. I just see that you can see so far with just a foundation establishment stage cultivation base, so I reluctantly treat you as my junior brother. Speaking of this, Zhang Qingshao frowned again. This fallen gold mountains Yu family is a bit strange. How can they have the method to refine the soul-punishing light? And they dare to brazenly set up a large array in the sword tomb to perform a blood sacrifice. In particular, they intercepted Zhang Yuha. Could it be that this Yu family is a descendant of the 10,000 demon realm? What kind of place is the 10,000 demon realm? Xiao Hua was too lazy to argue with Zhang Qingxiao and asked, "It's a realm like the Devil Realm and Dawn Rain Continent." Zhang Qingxiao glanced at Xiao Hua and said hesitantly, "There is a space channel between the 10,000 demon realm, Dawn Rain Continent, and the Devil Realm, so the three can sometimes be connected. The ancestor of the Yu family may have come from the 10,000 demon realm to Dawn Rain Continent through the space channel and lived here, leaving the method to refine the soul-punishing light in Dawn Rain Continent." What is a realm? What is a space channel? Xiao Hua's eyes lit up and immediately asked. Zhang Qingxiao saw Xiao Hua's joy and was also surprised. He naturally knew that Xiao Hua's memory had some flaws and knew what Xiao Hua thought of. "Don't think blindly. You are definitely not from the 10,000 demon realm." Zhang Qingxiao shook his head. "With your cultivation base, how can you pass through the space channel?" "Why?" Xiao Hua hurriedly asked. "Take a look." Zhang Qingxiao waved his hand and an irregular plane appeared in front of them, bright like glass. "What is a realm? I also don't know. Don't ask too much, I just got the inheritance of the Devil Realm. It's already good that I know this." Zhang Qingxiao pointed at the plane and said, "For example, this is the so-called realm. You and I are all ants on this plane." And Xiao Hua's eyes were bright as he carefully stared at the mirror as if he wanted to find something from it. "Just looking at the middle of this realm, you won't find anything." Zhang Qingxiao pointed at the edge of the plane and said, "You have to look here carefully." "Oh, here?" Xiao Hua's eyes flashed. He saw that there were many hair-like twists and turns at the edges. "This is called a spatial vein." Zhang Qingxiao pointed at the twists and turns that were as thin as hair and said, "It is said that the middle of this interface is very stable, but the surroundings are not. It is even very chaotic. Perhaps it is the part of the interface that was not mature during its formation." "These spatial veins, aren't there a lot of them?" Xiao Hua was shocked. "Probably." Zhang Qingxiao wasn't very sure either. "These are all extremely mysterious or useless things for cultivation. I'm not very clear about them either." "And then? What is?" When Xiao Hua said this, his eyes suddenly lit up. He also waved his hand and another mirror appeared beside him. Then he pointed at it again. The mirror seemed to shatter and many cracks appeared. Many of them were intertwined with the previous cracks. That was a spatial passage. Xiao Hua pointed at the connection between the two mirrors and said, "No." Unexpectedly, Zhang Qingxiao shook her head with a smile. She pointed at the intersections and said, "These are called space nodes, or perhaps it's a spatial crack." "And why is it not a spatial passage?" Xiao Hua was stunned. The spiritual energy of the two interfaces is different. Even the creatures are different. They are completely different things. Zhang Qingxiao calmly pointed at the two surfaces and said, "The spiritual energy in their spatial veins is also different. Where the two veins intersect, the spiritual energy is unusually violent. The so-called spatial storm and spatial tearing are normal things. But there is no, damn it, I can't tell what cultivation level it is. Anyway, no one can pass through this node. Even the demon spirits of the 10,000 demon realm would be torn to pieces here." "That's true." Xiao Hua pointed at the sky and said, "If these spatial cracks can be passed through, the channels between the two interfaces are indeed too many." "Yes." Zhang Qingxiao waved her hand again, and the numerous twists and turns flickered slightly. However, when they flickered, many of the twists and turns were annihilated. In the end, only a dozen twists and turns were still flashing. "These are the spatial passages," Zhang Qingxiao said. Xiao Hua bit his lips slightly and looked carefully. He saw that these twists and turns were thicker than the ones on the left. The twists and turns between the two planes were almost parallel. There were no obvious nodes between the two intersecting twists and turns. Instead, there were some places where they overlapped. "Little brother understands." Xiao Hua sighed and said, "The spatial range of the nodes is too small. The impact of the spiritual energy of the two interfaces is too great here. can't be used at all. And where the two parallel intersecting spatial veins overlap, the impact of the two types of spiritual energy will be buffered. Although there are spatial storms and other things, they are relatively small and easy to pass through. Zhang Qingxiao clapped her hands and said, "Yes, that's right. The more the spatial veins overlap, the more stable the spatial passage is, and the smaller the spatial storm inside. Of course, the bigger the spatial veins, the bigger the spatial storm, and the more stable the passage is. And the smaller the spatial veins, the smaller the spatial storm, and the more unstable the passage is. Little brother understands." Also, although the spatial passage can allow people to enter and exit the two interfaces, but because the spatial veins are extremely complicated, you see, there are other veins tangled together around it. This is simply a maze. If there isn't a particularly clear path, no one dares to enter. Zhang Qingxiao said again, "As long as you get lost in this spatial vein, damn it, it's definitely a dead end." "Fine," Xiaohua shrunk his neck. "Little brother can even get lost on flat ground. This kind of place, little brother won't even think about it." "You better not think about it." Zhang Qingxiao nodded and said, "As strong as the demon realm, even the corporeal body of the demon general doesn't dare to rashly try the unfamiliar spatial passage, let alone the cultivators of the Tao sect. Then, the passage between the demon realm and Dawn Rain continent?" Xiaohua asked again. Zhang Qingxiao didn't hide it and waved her hand again. Many of the twists and turns around the plane slowly floated up again like water plants in the water. This spatial vein isn't unmoving. It even floats rhythmically. Zhang Qingxiao said, "The spatial network that connects the Devil Realm and Dawn Rain continent isn't stable. Every 1,000 years it would overlap and form a passageway or crack. The Devil Realm's devil cultivators and devil generals would be able to invade Dawn Rain continent through this passageway. The 10,000 demon realm is also ordinary." Xiaohua knew that Zhang Qingxiao wasn't willing to talk about the demon realm, so he asked about the 10,000 demon realm. "That's right." Zhang Qingxiao waved her hand again, and another plane appeared on top of the two planes. Many twists and turns spread out on the plane and intertwined with the previous twists and turns. "How many of these planes are there?" Xiaohua suddenly asked. How would I know?" Zhang Qingxiao was stunned and said with a smile, "You can have as many as you want. It has nothing to do with me." Xiaohua smiled. He knew that Zhang Qingxiao didn't know about this. He stretched out his hand and erased the 3 planes. He frowned and said, "If that's the case, Falling Gold Mountain's you family is a little interesting. Why did they come to Dawn Rain continent? What do they want to do? It has nothing to do with you or me." Zhang Qingxiao said lazily. "Moreover, that Falling Gold Mountain has been in Dawn Rain continent for so many years. If they wanted to do something, they would have done it long ago. Why would they wait until now? I'm afraid that the ancestors of Falling Gold Mountain's you family couldn't survive in the 10,000 demon realm and fled to Dawn Rain continent." "Ha ha ha, that's right." Xiaohua laughed, but there was a trace of doubt in his heart. He knew from Si Yinding that the Yu family had a legacy realm. Maybe they chased from the 10,000 demon realm to Dawn Rain continent. They weren't fleeing but were preparing to find the entrance to the legacy realm. Why aren't they here yet? Zhang Qingxiao was a little impatient. She had talked to Xiaohua for so long. After all, she was still worried about Zhang Luer. She looked to the north and whispered, "I haven't come to Sky Patrol City for a few days. These guys have slacked off a lot." "Sky Patrol City?" Xiaohua frowned slightly and seemed to think of Heavenly Demon Sects by Fengliang. However, Xiaohua looked at Zhang Qingxiao's handsome face and held back from asking. He was afraid that Bai Fengliang would attract Zhang Qingxiao's attention and lose his life because of it. "Are you waiting for news from Sky Patrol City?" After waiting for a moment, Xiaohua probed. "Well, the Battle of Tao Cultivators is related to my Heavenly Demon Sect. I can't not pay attention to it," Zhang Qingxiao said snappily. "You weren't at the scene of the battle. What you know is not much." Xiaohua was about to speak, but Zhang Qingxiao frowned and said, "You wait here. I'll be back soon. Okay. Xiao Hua nodded and no longer said anything. He stood there with his eyes closed. However, he had already taken out Zhang Qingxiao's magic bamboo slip and did not hesitate to immerse his Buddhist consciousness into it. After the time it took to eat a meal, Zhang Qingxiao flew back with a jade slip in her hand. She had a strange expression on her face. She saw Xiao Hua standing there as steady as Mount Tai. She stopped about 10 feet away from him and stared at Xiao Hua from top to bottom for a long time. What's wrong? Xiao Hua kept the magic bamboo slip and carefully calculated the magic bamboo slip in his mind. You? Who exactly are you? Zhang Qingxiao asked. Previously, I thought I overestimated you. But I didn't expect. You actually gave me so many surprises? What surprises? Xiao Hua's heart skipped a beat. He looked at the jade bamboo slip in Zhang Qingxiao's hand and had a premonition in his heart. Chapter 2707. The sword catacomb has disappeared. Don't you think you should tell me something? Zhang Qingxiao's expression flickered. Also, don't tell me you don't know that nameless from the lightning control sect who is pregnant? Also, what's that long Xiao? What about the 10-direction annihilation formation? The 4-direction sword formation? Do you need me to tell you? Xiao Hua said with a smile. 10-direction annihilation formation? 4-direction sword formation? What does that have to do with me? Zhang Qingxiao raised her eyebrows. The deaths of so many sword cultivators and cultivators is exactly what I wanted. What I want to know now is why the sword catacomb suddenly disappeared. You just said, the blood sacrifice formation of Fallen Gold Mountains U family was to the west of the sword formation, where the entire sword catacomb was sucked away. You were there at the time, so don't tell me you had nothing to do with this. When did I say I had nothing to do with this? Xiao Hua didn't have any intention of denying Zhang Qingxiao's words. Don't tell me. You've really formed your nascent soul? Zhang Qingxiao's face lit up, and she almost cried out. If that's the case, then our plan. How could it be so simple? Xiao Hua sighed and slapped his forehead, releasing the pressure of a gold core. Sigh, you just formed your gold core. Zhang Qingxiao's face was filled with disappointment. She shook her head and said, your strength is comparable to a nascent soul cultivator, and you can even scare off a third-grade illusory swordsman, but if you're up against a nascent soul cultivator or even a late-stage nascent soul cultivator, I'm afraid the difference is still too great. Seeing Zhang Qingxiao's disappointment, Xiao Hua felt a wave of warmth in his heart. He knew that this disappointment was because his revenge at Yellow Flower Ridge had been delayed. Earlier in the sword catacomb, I was condensing my gold core, not my nascent soul. Xiao Hua pondered for a moment, then slapped his hand, took out the small bucket, and handed it to Zhang Qingxiao. All the phenomena were caused by this item. I want you to see what this item is. This? Zhang Qingxiao took the small bucket and looked at it for a while. She weighed it up and down. Then she lifted the small bucket with both hands and placed it in front of her eyes. A faint black smoke was emitted from Zhang Qingxiao's eyes, and within her pupils was a dazzling brilliance similar to Zhang Jihao's. When the brilliance fell on the small bucket, the 5-colored halo rippled back and forth at an extremely fast speed. After half a cup of tea's time, Zhang Qingxiao raised her head, and the 5-colored brilliance in her pupils flashed away. This thing isn't something that I can see with my divine ability. Zhang Qingxiao sighed and raised his hand to pass it to Xiao Hua. Furthermore, I've already helped you look at the origin of the soul-punishing primary light. I'm afraid I won't be able to help you look at it again in a short period of time. However, since it had such power and was able to destroy 1,000 miles of sword mound, this was definitely not an ordinary item. I'm sure that 10 soul-punishing primary lights can't compare to this small bucket. I can only look at it, but I can't use it. Xiao Hua took it in a bad mood and weighed it up and down in boredom. That bored and indifferent look made Zhang Qingxiao's heart tremble. Damn it, that is the thing that destroyed the sword mound. You're giving it to me so easily? Let's go. Zhang Qingxiao didn't ask any more questions. She didn't even mention the mysterious dragon roar in the sword mound. She slapped her hand and took out a light flying boat. She cast a spell on it, and the flying boat flashed with a dark green brilliance and rapidly expanded. Although you're not afraid of the snow region now in the Sky Patrol City, you're still not the opponent of the snow region. You and I better take the Black Jade Arrow boat. Oh, this is your heavenly demon sex flying boat? Xiao Hua was a little envious. Naturally, he thought of Li Zongbao's flowing cloud flying boat and the damaged thunderboat in his space. Xiao Hua had already gathered the materials needed to repair the flying boat. Unfortunately, he didn't have the time to check the jade slip to refine the flying boat. Seems there are still a lot of things to do. Xiao Hua thought to himself. I'm short of time now. Yes, this is my heavenly demon sex Black Jade Arrow boat. Zhang Qingxiao said proudly. Your Imperial Thunder Sect has the Thunder Boat, Seven Skills Sect has the Flowing Cloud Flying Boat, and Huanhua Sect has the Feather Court Boat. My Heavenly Demon Sect naturally has our own flying boat. Come, come, come. I'll let you see how my flying boat is. After saying that, Zhang Qingxiao floated onto the flying boat. The dark green brilliance on the flying boat swayed slightly. It was a sign that the boat was about to set off. Hee hee. I'll see if your flying boat is comparable to my Imperial Thunder Sect's Thunderboat. Xiao Hua flew onto the Thunderboat and said without hesitation. Zhang Qingxiao's body flashed with brilliance. The faint black qi fell onto the flying boat from his hand. Sure enough, the flying boat soared into the sky and headed towards the south of the country of Xi at an extremely fast speed. Within the Imperial Thunder Sect, on the Thunder Immortal Peak, in the Great Thunder Hall, on top of 8 floating praying mats, neatly sat the 8 palace masters of the Imperial Thunder Sect's 8 great thunder palaces. Above the hall, purple lightning flashed faintly. Countless talismans flowed along with the lightning. Sizzling sounds could be heard intermittently, revealing the tranquility of the hall. Although the palace masters of the 8 great thunder palaces were present, except for Chen Lazy, who had a red face, when his gaze swept across the faces of the other 7 people, including Fairy Xianhua, all of them had their eyes lowered as if they were looking at the floor of the hall. They didn't even breathe loudly. Zhensheng. Oh, Shang Yunzi Dui Jie. How's the disciple recruitment this time? After Chen Lazy looked at everyone one by one, his brows furrowed. His gaze fell on the last 2 people. Those 2 were the palace master of the Imperial Thunder Palace, Zhen Shang, and the palace master of the Imperial Thunder Palace, Dui Jie. However, at this time, Zhen Shang's cultivation had already reached the early nascent soul stage. His appearance had also changed to that of a young scholar, looking to be in his 20s. As for Dui Jie, her hair was still white and she looked very old. When Dui Jie heard Chen Lazy's question, she let out a sigh of relief. She glanced at Shang Yunzi, who already had a Dharma name, and hurriedly replied, Yes, as Sect Master knows, it's getting more and more difficult to find disciples with lightning attribute physiques. The earlier testing methods have gradually lost their effectiveness. In the past, we could find 1 disciple in 10,000 children. Now, even if we double the number, we still can't find a disciple. What about the disciples with fire attribute? Obviously, Chen Lazy was somewhat dissatisfied with this answer. However, it was within his expectations. Although he frowned, he didn't blame her. The disciples with fire attribute are the same as before. In fact, there are even more disciples with fire attribute. Dui Jie continued. But the physiques of these disciples can't be completely tested. Many of them can only be confirmed after some simple cultivation. Of course, the rogue cultivators who have already started cultivating can be determined after a simple test. But these cultivators, I don't dare to recruit too many. Dui Jie hesitated for a moment before continuing. Now that there is a war between cultivators, the 3 cultivation countries are in turmoil. Many sects, even sword cultivators, have taken advantage of the great loss of our cultivators and the fact that other sects are vigorously recruiting disciples to send their spies to our Imperial Thunder Sect. When Dui Jie mentioned that the Imperial Thunder Sect swordsman had suffered a great loss, Chen Lazy snorted and coldly asked, What about the disciples in the sect? The disciples in the sect seem to be less than before. Dui Jie hesitated. How much less? Qian Lazy asked. At least 20%. Humph, they only know how to cultivate. They don't even think about the future of our Imperial Thunder sect. Qian Lazy snorted again. Why do you want them to dual cultivate? Isn't it just to let them give birth to disciples for our Imperial Thunder sect? Yes. Dui Jie's voice was very low. She didn't dare to not answer, but she didn't know how to answer either. Sect Master. Shang Yunzi bowed and said, You can't blame the dual cultivating disciples of our Imperial Thunder sect. The change in the spiritual energy of this world is also a kind of pressure on them. Everyone wants to enter the next realm before their lifespan is up. This dual cultivation, naturally, the birth of children will be neglected a lot. Qian Lazy originally wanted to scold Shang Yunzi, but when he saw Shang Yunzi's young face, he restrained himself and coldly asked, Do you have any ideas? Since Sect Master gave the order to recruit disciples every year, I have carefully checked the qualifications and conditions of the recruited disciples. I found something special, Shang Yunzi said with confidence. Oh, tell me. Qian Lazy raised his eyebrows and nodded. First of all, I found that although the physiques of those rogue cultivators are easy to identify, after they entered our Imperial Thunder sect, their progress is extremely limited. Now, just like what Dui Ling said, the quality of these disciples is mixed. Our Imperial Thunder sect is taking too much risk. In the future, we need to accept fewer of these disciples. Seeing that Qian Lazy didn't say anything, Shang Yunzi continued. Secondly, although the number of aristocratic family disciples joining our Imperial Thunder sect is less than before, every one of them has made great progress. Some of them have even surpassed the blood relatives of our sect. In the future, our Imperial Thunder sect should accept more disciples from aristocratic families. There are too many disciples from aristocratic families. It's not easy to control them, Dui Jie retorted. They can easily create a lot of big and small circles within the Imperial Thunder sect, causing the disciples of our Imperial Thunder sect to be divided. This situation has existed for thousands of years, Shang Yunzi said with a faint smile. Besides, where are there no circles? Where are there no barriers? Not to mention the cultivators, even the people of the secular world are ordinary. Continue, Qian Lazy said impatiently. Thirdly, we need to find a way to identify disciples' physiques as soon as possible. Now. But before Shang Yunzi finished, Qian Lazy said coldly, This is also a cliché. If this sect could find it, I would have already told you. Yes, this subordinate understands. Shang Yunzi hurriedly added, As for the fourth point, I feel that we should focus on recruiting young children. Bullshit. Qian Lazy finally couldn't help but curse. I know all of this. Sect Master, please calm down. Fairy Xianhua hurriedly persuaded. Let Shang Yunzi finish. Hurry up and say it. Qian Lazy's chest heaved up and down. Obviously, he was very angry. Yes, after my observation, I found that 40% of the 100 young children recruited into my Imperial Thunder sect came from the border between Xi and Meng. This is rare in the past, Shang Yunzi hurriedly said with a smile. Although this subordinate doesn't know the reason, if Sect Master sends more people to the border of Meng, or even deep into Meng, this subordinate thinks that there will be a big harvest. Chapter 2708. Oh! Qian Lazy raised his eyebrows and looked at Dui Jie. Is what Shang Yunzi said true? Dui Jie was stunned and said embarrassedly, I really didn't think about it. I haven't carefully checked the origin of the female disciples of Dui Lei Palace. After all, these disciples were scattered all over the country of Xi. If what Shang Yunzi said is reasonable and your Dui Lei Palace is the same, then your two Lei Palaces should send more people to Mongolia. Qian Lazy waved his hand and said, Now my Imperial Thunder sect is lacking in disciples. You two have to work harder. Previously, let go of those harsh conditions. Yes, we understand. Shang Yunzi and Dui Jie finally heaved a sigh of relief. Dui Jie, I heard that you didn't get off the Thunderboat when you went to Sky Patrol City? Chen Lazy couldn't help but look at Dui Jie and ask. Dui Jie heard and showed anger on her face. She bowed and said, That's right. How could Shui you not know that Tu Hong from Sky Patrol City treated my Imperial Thunder Sect's disciples in such a despicable manner? He even hid it from the sect master and the cultivators of the 3 cultivation countries. If Sword Cultivator didn't expose this matter, wouldn't my Imperial Thunder Sect's disciples have fallen into their trap? If I went to Sky Patrol City, I would become the laughingstock of other sections. How could I get off the Thunder Boat? How could I meet the Gold Core Realm cultivators in the conference hall? Well, Chen Lazy was expressionless. Even if you didn't go to the conference hall, you should have paid a visit to Shuiyu. After all, he is a nascent Soul Realm cultivator. I know my mistake. Dui Jie bowed and said, Well, it's not a mistake. Chen Lazy waved his hand and said, Sky Patrol City is just a Shuiyu cultivator. In the past 10 years, my Imperial Thunder Sect has produced nascent Soul Realm cultivators one after another. Not to mention Shang Yunzi, even Kuang Tian has surprised me. Haha, there's also Wu Ming, who is only at the late Gold Core Realm, who can use Imperial Thunder Shock. Fairy Xianhua saw that Chen Lazy was in a better mood and said with a smile, Wu Ming will reach the nascent Soul Realm sooner or later. It's not just the nascent Soul stage. Lei Tan's spiritual master hurriedly added, Even if it's the Soul Avatar, this subordinate wouldn't be surprised. Actually, Taoist Miyu hesitated for a moment before saying, From what this subordinate saw, the lightning escape technique that Nameless used, I'm afraid that Kansheng is a bit exaggerated. Master Qianlei's eyes flashed as he looked at Spiritual Master Miyu. I've left the task of searching for Wuming to you and Spiritual Master Kuangtian. Have you made any progress? Reverend Miyu bitterly smiled and said, The person in charge of this matter is still Crazy Heaven. Sect Master should ask him. Looks like you have no idea? Chen Lei was a bit dissatisfied. I really don't know. Taoist Miyu said, Crazy Heaven has been investigating one lightning palace after another. Recently, he has not discussed with this subordinate. Summon Kuangtian Zhenren. Master Chen Lei waved his hand and a bolt of lightning struck the gate of the huge Thunder Palace. Yes. Outside the palace, a guard answered and hurriedly flew away. Seeing that Master Chen Lei's expression was not good, and he had asked about recruiting disciples for no reason, Fairy Xianhua hesitated and whispered, Sect Master, this Dao Cultivator War? How is it going? Previously, my Imperial Thunder Sect's disciples had made a lot of contributions and many of them returned victorious. In this war, my Imperial Thunder Sect can be considered to have made a lot of contributions to the cultivation world. According to what you said before, Shanghua Sect has already contacted you. Should we also prepare for the second stage of the war? Is Sect Master going to personally go to Sky Patrol City? This Sect Master hasn't decided yet. Speaking of the war situation, Master Chen Lei's face turned a bit ugly and whispered, Let's see how Chen Mo and the others fight against the sword cultivators first. Sect Master. Fairy Yao Feng from distant Thunder Palace, who had been quiet all this time, opened her mouth and said, Although my Imperial Thunder Sect is not a sect on duty in the conference hall, we are still famous in the country of Xi. Previously, Chen Mo's shady business with Sky Patrol City had really damaged the reputation of my Imperial Thunder Sect. In my opinion, this Chen Mo doesn't have the ability to command a great war. When it comes to arranging troops, it's even worse. Sect Master, it's better to call him back from Sky Patrol City as soon as possible. Chen Lei listened to the two's words and his face sank. He looked at the gate of the palace as if he was thinking about something. Fairy Xianhua glanced at Fairy Yao Feng and smiled. Fairy Yao Feng's words are not without reason. When Sect Master chose Chen Mo as the Gold Core Stage cultivator in the conference hall, I was also a bit surprised. This Chen Mo didn't stand out in the Heavenly Thunder Palace and wasn't considered as outstanding. Not to mention the disciples of Heavenly Thunder Palace, Even the female disciples of Earth Thunder Palace and Distant Thunder Palace are better than him in judging the situation and arranging troops. But later on, I thought about it carefully and understood Sect Master's painstaking efforts. Oh? Why? Fairy Yao Feng was slightly taken aback. The disciples of my Imperial Thunder Sect don't need to have leadership talents and the ability to intimidate the crowd? Junior sister, you just said that my Imperial Thunder Sect is not a sect on duty in the conference hall. We don't make any decisions on war matters. Why do we need such excellent planning? Qian Mo's character is too conservative and lacking in development. It is precisely because of this that he can get along with other gold core stage cultivators and be modest to each other. There is no need to have any dirty thoughts. Alas, in a great war, there are protagonists and supporting roles. My Imperial Thunder Sect can only be a supporting role now. Fairy Yao Feng said with a bitter smile. One day, my Imperial Thunder Sect will be the protagonist. Reverend Me, you said very firmly. Fairy Xianhua's words are exactly what I think. This time, Qian Mo's mission is not to defeat the sword cultivators, but to protect my Imperial Thunder Sect disciples as much as possible. Qian Leizi finally spoke. If my sect sends Tu Hong, I'm afraid that in less than 2 days, my Imperial Thunder Sect's 100,000 disciples will only be left with 20%. That's right. That brat Tu Hong deserves to die. Fairy Yao Feng agreed. To be able to use your own disciples and my Dao Sect's disciples as bait, of course, he has meritorious service. But with his hands covered in blood, how can he cultivate? What a pity that Shui Yu is protecting him. As for the situation in Sky Patrol City, Qian Leizi ignored Fairy Yao Feng's words and a worried expression appeared on his face. Qian Mo has not contacted my sect for many days. This battle seems to be in a stalemate. While speaking, Qian Leizi raised his eyebrows and smiled. Speak of Qian Mo. Qian Mo will arrive. Let's see Qian Mo's battle report. Qian Ping? Qian Leizi flung his Taoist robe and a mirror appeared in front of him. When he saw the situation inside, he was slightly stunned. Disciple Qian Ping greets Sect Master. Qian Ping was an extremely thin cultivator and only had the cultivation of an early gold core stage. When he saw Qian Leizi, he was a little panicked and even stuttered. Seeing Qian Ping's nervousness, Qian Leizi was even more shocked and said in a low voice, Qian Ping, where's Qian Mo? I'm a disciple of the Imperial Thunder Sect. Speaking of this, even Qian Leizi, who had the cultivation of a middle nascent soul stage, felt a chill in his heart. He knew that in order to maintain contact with the sect, each sect had at least 2 people who knew how to use the secret communication technique. At least one of the 2 people was in Sky Patrol City. Among the disciples of the Imperial Thunder Sect, besides Qian Mo, Qian Ping also knew how to communicate with him. But without Qian Mo's order, Qian Ping would never contact him rashly. If the situation of the Imperial Thunder Sect was not so critical that Qian Mo had no time to return to Sky Patrol City, then Qian Mo had a problem. Sure enough, Qian Ping told Qian Leizi the details of the battle with a terrified expression. Qian Leizi's face was filled with shock and anger, or was extremely furious. Even when Qian Ping told Qian Leizi about Wu Ming, and Qian Leizi knew that the Imperial Thunder Sect had obtained the greatest merit in this battle, there was no trace of joy on his face. After Qian Ping finished his report, he stole a glance at Qian Leizi's extremely gloomy expression and said, The Golden Core cultivators in the conference hall have made a decision. Because there are not many disciples left, they are going to send them back to the sect. I understand. Qian Leizi let out a long sigh and forced a smile on his face. He said, You have worked hard in Sky Patrol City. I agree with the decision of the conference hall. The first stage of the Sword Principle battle has ended. You don't have to fight anymore. You can cultivate in Sky Patrol City now. When the thunderbolt of the Imperial Thunder Sect arrives, you can return. Yes, I understand. Qian Ping's expression also relaxed. Qian Ping informed the disciples. They are the meritorious members of the Imperial Thunder Sect. When they return, I will personally welcome them at Sky Thunder Peak. Every one of them, I will reward them handsomely. Qian Lei encouraged Qian Ping in a very kind manner. Yes, Qian Ping thanks the sect master for the reward. Qian Ping's words finally flowed smoothly. After the transmission ended, Qian Lei waved his Taoist robe, and the mirror turned into a pile of fireflies. All the nascent soul cultivators in the Great Thunder Palace were speechless. That's right, the Imperial Thunder Sect had invested more than 100,000 disciples in this Dao cultivator battle. Previously, more than 10,000 disciples had returned. Now, after the Battle of the Sword Tomb, they had been killed so miserably by the Sword Principal cultivators. Only 10,000 disciples were left. This was definitely something that no one could imagine. There was a dead silence in the Great Thunder Palace. No one knew how to open their mouths. No one knew what to say. After the time it took to drink a cup of tea, a voice sounded from outside the palace. Reporting to the sect master. Kuang Tian is here. Let him in. Qian Lei seemed to have calmed down and said faintly. As he was speaking, Qian Tian, who had already become a nascent soul cultivator and changed his name to Kuang Tian, quickly walked in from outside the Great Thunder Palace. Behind him was a Foundation Establishment disciple. At this time, Kuang Tian had naturally reformed his body. His face, which was only around 30 years old, was 90% similar to Chen Diheng. At this time, the usual arrogance on Kuang Tian's face had long disappeared. With a solemn and respectful expression, he came to the front of the palace and bowed. Subordinate greets the sect master and the palace masters. Chapter 2709. Master Qian Lei flicked his sleeves and glanced at the Foundation Establishment disciple beside Crazy Heaven with a strange expression. Crazy Heaven was slightly taken aback, but he stood there obediently and didn't ask any questions. Disciple Zhen Qin greets sect master. The Foundation Establishment disciple saw that Crazy Heaven didn't speak, so he had to speak up himself and bowed. Crazy Heaven. Who is he? Master Qian Lei asked. He is a disciple of Jade Archive Hall, Crazy Heaven answered when Master Qian Lei asked him. I met him outside the hall and brought him along. What do you want? Master Qian Lei said impatiently. Which disciple's life spirit tablet broke again? Yes, sect master will know. Seeing that Master Qian Lei was in a bad mood, Zhen Qin hurriedly took out 2 jade slips and respectfully handed them over. This time there are too many life spirit tablets broken. The disciples of Jade Archive Hall are busy counting them. Junior was afraid of delay, so I sent a batch over first. Also, the disciple who sent the jade slips last time hasn't returned to Jade Archive Hall. I'm afraid he accidentally fell into the forbidden area of the sect. Hall Master Zhen didn't notice it in time. I'm afraid Sect Master didn't receive the jade slips last time, so he sent me another one. You can leave. Master Qian Lei finally understood why the news of Qian Mo's death didn't arrive until today. Naturally, he wouldn't get angry at this Foundation Establishment disciple. He lightly waved his hand and signaled Crazy Heaven to take the jade slips and let the disciple leave. When the Jade Archive Hall disciple's footsteps gradually disappeared from the hall, the entire Great Thunder Hall fell into silence. Sigh, it's been hard on Qianmo this child. Fairy Xian Hua sighed again and broke the silence. This old one didn't expect that he would make such a choice. That's right. Let me walk my path. I am alone, and I have no regrets. Qianmo, this child's heart is filled with so much bitterness, and how much he wants our Imperial Thunder Sect to rise. Reverend Mi, you also sighed with emotion. If he didn't have this ambition, how could he say such a thing? How could he do such an admirable thing? Shang Yunzi bit his lips as his face turned red. He blamed himself. This subordinate didn't think that Qianmo would have such lofty ambitions and have such magnificent achievements. This subordinate is inferior. Previously, this subordinate had done some things and felt that it was amazing. I felt that I had contributed greatly to the Imperial Thunder Sect. But now, compared to Qianmo, this subordinate feels inferior. Please punish me, sect leader. Forget it. Everyone has their own talents and goals. Qian Lei waved his hand. You've done what you should do. Why should I blame you? Sai, it's not just Qian Mo. Which of the Imperial Thunder Sect's disciples who died in the great battle of Dao cultivators wasn't a hero of my sect? They might not necessarily lack Qian Mo's ambition. They might not necessarily lack Qian Mo's lofty aspirations. It's just that they didn't even have the opportunity to say it out loud like Qian Mo did. Qian Lazy sighed slightly. He looked up at Quangtian and asked, Gantian, how is the matter with Nameless? Reporting to Sect Master. Quangtian bowed. This subordinate has thoroughly investigated 4 out of the 8 great lightning palaces, disciple by disciple. But until now there have been no clues. And slowly investigate. You should find out who this Nameless is. Qian Lei nodded. Now, in this great battle of Dao cultivators, other than Qian Mo being a hero respected by all sects, Nameless is a hero that all sects are grateful to. Our Imperial Thunder Sect is the sect with the most meritorious service in this great battle of Dao cultivators. Ah, Nameless, what did he do again? Quangtian was shocked. Qian Mo, what happened again? In order to defeat the sword cultivators and protect the lives of tens of thousands of our Imperial Thunder Sect's disciples, Qian Mo sacrificed his own life. Kunlun Sect's Yuan Zhongyu spread his last words to the entire Sky Patrol City. Miyu glanced at Qian Lei and explained, as for Nameless, he even formed his nascent soul in the sword tomb. He broke through the sword cultivator's formation and used his own strength to deter a group of illusory swordsmen. He saved the Golden Core cultivators and the remaining 100,000 Dao cultivators from the sword tomb. Ah, Nameless formed his nascent soul? Quangtian was shocked, but there was a trace of joy on his face. Our Imperial Thunder Sect has another nascent soul cultivator? And I'm afraid so. Qian Lei nodded. But now, we need to find out which Thunder Palace this Nameless disciple belongs to. Why do I feel that there is something fishy about this? Of course. Lei Zhenren laughed. How many late-stage Golden Core disciples do we have in our sect? Which one of them has the hope of forming his nascent soul? But this Nameless has the Thunder Escape Technique and the Thunder Summoning Technique. Moreover, he is a late-stage Golden Core disciple. We have never heard of him before. This is really strange. Then, how many disciples are left in our Imperial Thunder Sect? Quangtian peeked at Qian Lei and asked in a low voice. Our Imperial Thunder Sect claims to have more than 100,000 disciples. In fact, we sent out more than 80,000 disciples. Previously, nearly 10,000 of them returned. Now we have lost 60,000. How many do you think we have left? Qian Lei said lightly. Hiss. Quangtian gasped and said in surprise, Only 10,000? This is still considered good. Qian Lei sneered. Chen Ping said it clearly just now. Due to the special physique of our Imperial Thunder Sect's disciples, the spirit-devouring array was less harmful to our disciples. The other sects lost thousands of their disciples in this battle. Damn it! That sword cultivator is too arrogant. His methods are too vicious. Quangtian Jinren could not help but curse. However, he immediately shut his mouth. Fairy Yaofeng, who had been silent all this time, spoke again. There is one thing that this subordinate does not understand. Sect Master, please explain. Speak. Although Qian Mo died a heroic death, he had a righteous cause. However, this subordinate feels that he was not capable enough to take on this responsibility. This is a mistake in itself. Fairy Yaofeng said without any trace of politeness. Moreover, Qian Mo has always been a stickler for the rules. He even acted willfully. Junior sister. Fairy Xian Hua frowned. The dead should be respected. Although this child Qian Mo had many shortcomings, he had our Imperial Thunder Sect in his heart. Since he was willing to die for our Imperial Thunder Sect, all his shortcomings are nothing. Sigh. Yaofeng, this sect master knows what you mean. Qian Lei sighed and said, You are blaming this sect master. This sect master did not choose the right person. Not only did we push Qian Mo to his death, we also caused 60,000 Imperial Thunder Sect disciples to die in the wilderness. Fairy Yao Feng shook her head and said, "This subordinate does not dare to blame Sect Master. After all, Sect Master is able to judge the situation and devise strategies. Since Sect Master sent Qian Mo, there must be a reason for Sect Master to send him." This subordinate has always had this question but did not dare to ask. Now that the battle has reached this stage, could Lord Sect Master dispel this subordinate's doubts? This matter is indeed extremely secretive. Master Qianlei waved his hand, and a bolt of lightning struck the pillar of the enormous Thunder Palace. The pillar began to glow with lightning and surged up to the roof of the palace. Countless purple lightning bolts flashed and covered the entire enormous Thunder Palace. Actually, this sect sent Qian Mo, because we had no other choice. Qianlei opened his mouth. What's more, you might not know that except for Qian Mo, a cultivator at the middle stage of Gold Core Realm, all the other sect's disciples are at most at the middle stage of Gold Core Realm. Obviously, Thunder Meng Daoist and the others were clear about this news. There was no trace of shock on their faces. Fairy Yao Feng nodded and said, "That's right. Since the Golden Core disciples in the Imperial Thunder Palace are only at middle Gold Core cultivators and there is not even a late Gold Core disciple, how can they fight against a third-grade illusory swordsman and win? This battle, our Dao sect, did not plan to win." Qianlei's words shocked everyone. "Why?" Thunder Meng Daoist asked anxiously. "Since you did not plan to win, why did you send hundreds of thousands or even millions of disciples? Are we sending them to their deaths?" "That's right, you are right. Lei Meng sent them to their deaths." Qianlei said coldly. How is this possible?" Everyone was completely confused. Quangtian Jinren narrowed his eyes and seemed to be thinking about something. Qianlei looked at everyone and then at Quangtian Jinren and asked, "How did you reach the nascent soul stage?" "Sect Master. I had some luck and obtained a drop of Zhongyao milk." Quangtian Jinren did not dare to hide anything and replied. Qianlei did not ask further and only said, "What if you could not obtain this drop of Zhongyao milk? I am afraid that I will reach the end of my lifespan and will not be able to reach the nascent soul stage." Quangtian Jinren said honestly, "Now that the heaven and earth Ling Qi in the Xiaoyu continent has changed, it is 10 times harder for us to reach the nascent soul stage." "That's right. The heaven and earth Ling Qi has changed." Qianlei pointed his finger and said, "But who is the benefit of the heaven and earth Ling Qi change?" Seeing that no one answered and Qianlei was pointing at him, Quangtian Jinren could only say, "According to what I know, some disciples of the cultivation families in the Heavenly Thunder Palace have improved rapidly under the heaven and earth Ling Qi change." "Yes, that's it." Qianlei clapped his hands and said, "The heaven and earth Ling Qi change has been going on for dozens of years. Our cultivation sects in the 3 cultivation countries have not found the source of the change and have not found a way to deal with it. However, those cultivation families have stimulated their true bloodline because of the change in heaven and earth Ling Qi. Most of their disciples have improved by leaps and bounds in their cultivation and have the potential to surpass our cultivation sections. What do you think our cultivation sects should do?" "Kill." Reverend Mi said coldly. I am afraid that the other sect masters have the same idea, right?" "That's right." Qianlei nodded and said, "The other sect masters are worried that the power of the disciples of their cultivation sects will increase and they will not be able to control it, so they have been trying to stop it. The sword cultivators of the Huan country starting a sword Dao war is exactly what they want. Sending the disciples of the cultivation sects into the war is killing 2 birds with 1 stone, isn't it? But the other sects are easy to deal with. They have chosen a lot of disciples from the cultivation sections. Even if they lose 100,000 or 200,000 disciples, they may not necessarily lose their blood-related disciples. But our Imperial Thunder sect is different." Fairy Yao Feng said with a bitter smile, 90% of the disciples of my Imperial Thunder sect are blood-related disciples. This is where our sect is in a difficult position. Qianlei Zi did not hide it. Shanghua sect, Xuanyan school, Qichao sect, and Huanhua sect have all sent their disciples. How can our Imperial Thunder sect not send any disciples? Their numbers couldn't be too much less than theirs. Although our sect knows that this is Shanghua sect's scheme against our Imperial Thunder sect. But how can our sect deal with it? The only thing our sect can do is to remind Qianmo that no matter the outcome of the war, he only needs to protect the disciples of our Imperial Thunder sect. And Qianmo has indeed done so. Sigh. If the Imperial Thunder sect is not strong, then I am not strong. If the Imperial Thunder sect is weak, then I am weak. I want to wield my sword and kill in all directions, using my strength to control the heavens. Reverend Lei Meng sighed with tears in his eyes. That's right, only now did the group of nascent soul cultivators know the bottom line of this sword war. Only now did they know the plan of the sect leaders of the cultivation sections. They could not help but lament the loss of 60,000 disciples of their Imperial Thunder sect. Furthermore, they also knew that although the loss of 60,000 disciples of the Imperial Thunder sect was considered small among all the sects, but the other sects might not be able to deal such a heavy blow. But what about the Imperial Thunder sect? Among the 60,000 disciples, most of them were blood-related disciples of the Imperial Thunder sect. They were truly capable. Although the war was cruel, the struggle between sects was not to be underestimated. Chapter 27:10. In the Great Thunder Hall, the eyes of the nascent soul cultivators flashed with anger. There was a kind of indignation in their hearts, a kind of helplessness similar to when Qianmo self-detonated, a kind of desire similar to that of when Qianmo self-detonated. It wasn't that they were stupid or incompetent. It wasn't that they couldn't see the filth in this great battle of Tao cultivators. It was just that they had no choice but to go with the flow and submit to this arrangement. It seemed that only at this moment did the nascent soul cultivators truly understand what Master Qianlei of the Imperial Thunder sect was facing and what he was thinking about. Only at this moment did they understand why Master Qianlei had asked the two palace masters for so long. He had paid attention to the ordinary matter of the Imperial Thunder sect recruiting disciples. It was because Master Qianlei had long known that the Imperial Thunder sect would lose disciples. In order to prevent the Imperial Thunder sect's status in the three kingdoms of cultivation, the Imperial Thunder sect had to seize the opportunity to recruit disciples. But obviously, the development of the situation was still beyond Master Qianlei's expectations. No one expected that the sword cultivators would be so ruthless and set up such a huge ambush. If it wasn't for Xiao Hua's appearance, the Imperial Thunder sect, no, the entire three kingdoms of Tao cultivators would not be able to escape from the four-square sword formation. Trying to be clever but making a fool of oneself. Almost every nascent soul cultivator had the same thought after feeling helpless and angry. Sect Master. Crazy Heaven suddenly bowed and said, "This is the first time I've heard of such a truth in the great battle of Sword Tao. You've already reached the nascent soul stage. You'll have plenty of opportunities to learn this cruel truth in the future." Master Qianlei said lightly, "Yes, I understand." Kuang Tian said respectfully, "Sect Master, it is our blessing to be able to face this kind of pressure alone. This subordinate truly admires Sect Master. Alas, it's not that I don't want to tell you. Even if I did, it would only add to your troubles." After Qianlei Zi told the truth, he let out a sigh of relief. Damn it, Splendid Sect, Xuanyan School, and Qichao Sect. They didn't even wait for me to say a word to the Huanhua Sect before deciding on this matter. Yes, just as Sect Master said, the competition between sects is more important than the Battle of Sword Tao. Crazy Heaven nodded and said, "Fortunately, although my Imperial Thunder sect has lost many disciples, there is still a nascent soul disciple like Nameless. I'm sure Sect Master knows this better than I do. If a nascent soul cultivator could cultivate the lightning escape technique to the Imperial Thunder transformation realm, then it would be a piece of cake for him to enter the divine transformation realm after forming the nascent soul. This John Doe alone can make up for the losses of our Imperial Thunder sect." "Oh, Imperial Thunder transformation?" Qianlei Zi glanced at Taoist Miyu with some doubt. "What? Did Kanshang say something wrong? Alright, the sect master understands. That's exactly it. Crazy Heaven explained. I interrogated Kanshang in detail, because the thunder evasion technique of the Kanlei Palace is a little different from that of the Heavenly Thunder Palace, and Kanshang has never seen anyone perform the Imperial Thunder Scare, let alone a large-scale thunder attracting technique. He somewhat overestimated John Doe's thunder evasion technique. According to Palace Master Mi Yu and this subordinate speculations, Nameless Thunder Escape technique should be at the Imperial Thunder Travel Realm. At most, it should be at the Imperial Thunder Transformation Realm. For the time being, it has not reached the Imperial Thunder Shock Realm. So that's the case. Chen Lazy nodded. That's right. If the Imperial Thunder Sect has a disciple whose thunder evasion technique is better than mine, how would I have any face left? Hee, that's exactly it. The nascent soul cultivators all laughed, but their laughter was not without bitterness. Although John Doe alone is comparable to 60,000 Imperial Thunder Sect disciples. Chen Lazy said again, but I still feel that it's not worth it. John Doe was originally a disciple of my Imperial Thunder Sect, and he didn't enter my Imperial Thunder Sect for no reason. No matter what, the loss of 60,000 disciples cannot be covered up. Crazy Heaven smiled bitterly. Not to mention nascent soul cultivators, even children in the secular world would understand such calculations. He was just comforting Chen Lazy. So, Gantian, you must find this John Doe. I want to see which Thunder Palace disciple he is. Chen Lazy said again. Crazy Heaven shook his head and said, Sect Master, this subordinate wants to say that this John Doe. Actually, it doesn't matter if we find him or not. It's even better if we don't find him. Oh, why? Even Thunder Mengzhenren was slightly stunned. Didn't Sect Master say it already? This John Doe is originally a disciple of my Imperial Thunder Sect. Whether we find him or not, he's still a disciple of my Imperial Thunder Sect. He won't run away. Crazy Heaven explained. Moreover, if we really find John Doe, Shanghua Sect, Xuanyan School, and Seven Skills Sect will pay more attention to this John Doe. They won't pay less attention to him than we do. Rather than let junior brother John Doe have so many worries, why not let him cultivate in peace? What do you think, Sect Master? That's right. Your words do make some sense. Chen Lazy's eyes lit up. He looked Crazy Heaven up and down and said, I only know that you've always been arrogant and despotic, but I didn't expect you to have such deep insight after forming your nascent soul. I don't dare, Crazy Heaven said modestly. In this world, people bully the weak and fear the strong. Even if I'm a disciple of the Imperial Thunder Palace, if I'm too weak, then, Crazy Heaven didn't say much after that, but the nascent soul cultivators in the Great Thunder Palace all understood that Chen Mo, a middle gold core disciple, and Chen Tian, a middle gold core disciple, were completely different from when Chen Tian was a middle gold core disciple. What an arrogant and despotic. Chen Lazy clapped his hands. Just as he was about to say something, he saw some brilliance and fluctuations in the space in front of him. Chen Lazy was just about to wave his sleeves, but he frowned and said, Miyu, this is a message from Shanghua Sect. If I'm not wrong, that old ghost Sun Yunzi urged my Imperial Thunder Sect to send out troops. Today is your turn. I've already gone into seclusion to comprehend cultivation methods and prepare to advance to the late nascent soul stage. You and Chen Tian, go to Sky Patrol City. Mi Yu was slightly stunned. She expected that she would accompany Chen Lazy to Sky Patrol City, but she didn't expect that Chen Lazy wouldn't go. Crazy Heaven was even more shocked. He never thought that he would be able to go to Sky Patrol City. However, after Chen Lazy gave the order, he flung his Taoist robe and lightning flashed around his body. His figure disappeared. Miyu looked around and pointed with her hand. A burst of lightning appeared in mid-air. When the lightning dissipated, it was an irregular-shaped mirror. Chen Lazy, Miyu? Sun Yunzi's voice came from the mirror. Where's your sect leader? Sun Yunzi's words made Miyu uncomfortable. It was as if he was asking a child where his elders were. However, Miyu was also helpless. Sun Yunzi's cultivation and age were indeed not something he could compare with. He could only respectfully bow and say, "Senior brother Sun Yunzi, my sect leader has already gone into seclusion a few days ago. Today is my turn to be on duty. Do you have any orders?" Ah, at such a critical moment, it's the critical moment of the Dao Cultivator War. Chen Lei is actually in seclusion? Sun Yunzi obviously didn't believe it. My sect leader is only at the middle nascent soul stage. How can he be compared to senior brother who is at the late nascent soul stage? Mi Yu replied harshly. A few days ago, my sect leader was observing the sky and suddenly had an epiphany. He hurriedly handed over some matters and went into seclusion. I hope senior brother Chen Lei can catch up to senior brother Sun Yunzi's progress after this seclusion. He. Sun Yunzi smiled and didn't pursue the matter. He asked, "Did your Imperial Thunder Sect receive the battle report from Sky Patrol City?" I also just received it." Reverend Mi Yu's face immediately turned bitter and she helplessly said, "This poor Taoist is also here discussing with the other palace masters. But Sect Master didn't pick up the message, so this poor Taoist can't contact him. My Imperial Thunder Sect lost so many disciples this time. We don't know what to do." How many people did your Imperial Thunder Sect lose? There are still close to 20,000 people left. Sun Yunzi was furious. Our Shanghua sect has less than 6,000 disciples left. What do you want I to do? The Shanghua sect is big and powerful. It's not something my Imperial Thunder Sect can compare to. Mi Yu was really angry. The lives of the Imperial Thunder Sect's disciples are important. The lives of my Shanghua sect's disciples are also important. Sun Yunzi said, "I've already contacted Lu Shi Immortal and Fairy Ingzhua. Although Fairy Ingzhua is practicing a secret technique, she still came out of seclusion to avenge the Xuanyan School's disciples who died in the battle. Could it be that Chen Lei won't go?" Mi Yu's face was crying. She smiled and said, "Senior brother Sun Yunzi, my sect leader just had a chance to break through. Please forgive him. How about I go with senior brother to Sky Patrol City?" Your Imperial Thunder Sect is a place with hidden dragons and crouching tigers. Sun Yunzi ignored Mi Yu's crying face and sneered. Wu Ming, who was in the limelight in the Sword Tomb, is a disciple of your Imperial Thunder Sect. He just reached the nascent soul stage, but he suppressed more than 10 third-grade illusory swordsmen and destroyed the Sword Tomb. I'm really curious. Did Chen Lei go to the Sword Tomb himself? Oh, definitely not. Even if it's Chen Lei, it's impossible for him to destroy the Sword Tomb. Senior brother Sun Yunzi, this poor Taoist is surprised again. Mi Yu said helplessly, "Until now, my Imperial Thunder Sect still doesn't know who this Wu Ming is, and which Thunder Palace's disciple he is from. Besides, it's clear from the battle that not only does the Sword Tomb have Wu Ming, there are also some strange beasts. How could this Sword Tomb be destroyed by Wu Ming?" What Mi Yu said was the truth, but how could Sun Yunzi believe it? Your Imperial Thunder Sect is the biggest contributor in the Dao Sword War. Chen Lei can't not go. At that time, not only will all the cultivation sects in my country of Xi thank your Imperial Thunder Sect, but also all the cultivation sects in Meng and Lian countries. If Chen Lei doesn't go, where's the decency? How can he have the bearing of a cultivation sect in my country of Xi? Sun Yunzi said sanctimoniously, Imperial Thunder Sect can't lose face. My country of Xi also can't lose face. Chapter 27:11. Unfortunately, Reverend Mi Yu didn't relent and shook her head. It wasn't easy for our sect leader to have such an opportunity, and it's the best time to break through to the middle stage of nascent soul. If we miss this opportunity, we don't know when we'll have such an opportunity again. We don't dare to disturb our sect leader's meditation. Of course, if senior brother Sun Yun feels that you don't want our sect leader to enter the middle stage of nascent soul and insist that we call our sect leader out, don't. Sun Yunzi waved his hand and stopped Reverend Mi Yu from continuing. This is your Imperial Thunder Sect's internal affairs and it involves Chen Lei's cultivation. I can't forcefully interfere. If Qian Lei forcefully comes out of seclusion and can't enter the middle stage of nascent soul, I'll have sinned greatly. Thank you, Senior Brother Sun Yun, for your understanding. Reverend Miyu said with a smile. I and Junior Brother Quangtian of my Heavenly Thunder Palace are discussing the matter of sending disciples to Sky Patrol City. If Senior Brother Sun Yun has any orders, you can send a message at any time. Quangtian? Which Quangtian? How come I didn't know that your Heavenly Thunder Palace has a Quangtian? Sun Yunzi was slightly startled. I Quangtian greets Senior Brother Sun Yun. Quangtian flew to the front of the mirror and bowed. Before the sect leader went into seclusion, he instructed I to assist Senior Brother Miyu in handling the matters of the Tao Cultivator War. Oh, so it's Gantian. You actually cultivated to nascent soul? Why didn't you hold a celebration for such a big matter? Sun Yunzi saw that it was Gantian and his eyes flashed with understanding. Sai, now is the time of the Tao Cultivator War and my Imperial Thunder Sect has suffered heavy losses. I occasionally advance to nascent soul, how would I dare to announce it? Quangtian sighed. If I was in the late stage of Golden Core, the sect leader might not send I to Sky Patrol City. Now I have to go. When the time comes, Senior Brother Sun Yun, if you meet the sword transformation old monster, you still have to take care of me. Hee, no problem. Sun Yunzi waved his hand. I also have to congratulate Junior Brother Quangtian for entering the ranks of Nascent Soul. Thank you, Senior Sun Yun. Quangtian's face lit up with joy. I've heard that the Shanghua sect's immortal seeking grass is a supreme spiritual herb that can condense a nascent soul. If Senior Brother Sun Yun is sincere in congratulating me, I'll definitely pay you a visit when I get to Sentry City to thank you for your kindness. This. Junior Brother Quangtian has reached the nascent soul realm, so we should celebrate. When the time comes, I will call Reverend Lu Su and Fairy Ingzhua to join us as well, so that they can be happy as well. After all, our state of Shi has gained another nascent soul cultivator. Sun Yunzi's expression was somewhat unsightly as he stammered. Thank you, Senior Martial Brother. Please thank Reverend Lu Su and Fairy Ingzhua on behalf of me. Crazy Heaven immediately thanked him. This, we will inform you once we have decided on the exact time of departure. Sun Yunzi clearly didn't want to say any more. He quickly raised his head and said to Spiritual Master Miyu, Your Imperial Thunder Sect just needs to prepare everything. Yes, I understand. Taoist Miyu smiled and nodded. See you off, Senior Brother Sun Yun. Crazy Heaven bowed respectfully. When the transmission mirror shattered into pieces, Qian Leizi's laughter sounded from the praying mat, and his figure also appeared. Sun Yunzi, this kind of evil person, is exactly what Quangtian and the others want to torture him. Spiritual Master Miyu said with a smile. Good. Quangtian, your thoughts are meticulous, and your face is thick enough. This Sentry City is really worth it. Qian Leizi nodded. Who would have thought that Crazy Heaven cultivator would bow again and say, Lord Sect Master, you flatter me. This is just a small Tao that can't enter the Hall of Elegance. That Sun Yunzi was just embarrassed to lose face, so he casually dealt with it with this subordinate. The one he is afraid of is Junior Brother Wu Ming. Only Junior Brother Wu Ming, this kind of mysterious person who is rumored to be able to destroy the sword catacomb with a raise of his hand, is a thorn in their flesh. Good. Qian Leizi nodded. Quangtian, we should continue to look for Wu Ming. After all, if we can find Wu Ming, our Imperial Thunder Sect will have some confidence, and our Imperial Thunder Sect can also help Wu Ming step into the separating divinity stage. This must be what Wu Ming needs, right? Yes. Subordinate understands. Crazy Heaven nodded and replied. But there is no need to be as urgent as now. Qian Leizi said again, You take Kinshang and find the surviving disciples, as well as the disciples of the other sects, and carefully investigate. I will also find an opportunity to kowtow to the several old ancestors, and make a good plan for the future of our Imperial Thunder Sect. Yes, subordinate understands. Crazy Heaven replied respectfully. Qian Leizi looked at Crazy Heaven and Shang Yunzi and said kindly, You two reached the nascent soul stage one after the other, which is a joyous occasion for our Imperial Thunder Sect. But because of the war, we didn't hold a celebration for you. We have wronged you. Good. Sect Master understands. We were only able to step into the nascent soul stage because of the sect's strength. If the sect requires this celebration, we will hold it. If the sect doesn't need it, we can naturally choose not to hold it. Taoist Crazed Heaven looked at Shang Yunzi, and both of them said the same thing. Good, the big picture is the most important. This is the true disciple of our Imperial Thunder Sect. Qian Leizi laughed and turned to Fairy Xianhua. Xianhua, I will go into seclusion in a few days. You can discuss all the important matters of the Imperial Thunder Sect. If there is a difficult decision, you can call me out. Of course, if it is not a matter of the survival of our Imperial Thunder Sect, do not disturb me from comprehending the mysteries of the late nascent soul stage. Sect Master, Spiritual Master Miyu, Spiritual Master Leizi, and the others were overjoyed. Sect Master is really going to enter the late nascent soul stage? You are not fooling Sun Yunzi? Ha ha ha. Yes, although I am fooling Sun Yunzi, I really should have made some progress. I have obtained the thunder-devouring bead for dozens of years and have comprehended it for a long time. All of you have made some progress. If I don't step into the late nascent soul stage, it will be hard to explain. Qian Leizi smiled. Congratulations, Sect Master. Congratulations, Sect Master. Everyone stood up and bowed. Now that Sect Master has entered the late nascent soul stage, our Imperial Thunder Sect will be able to stand shoulder to shoulder with the three sects of the country of Xi. It is still early. Qian Leizi waved his hand. I don't know how long this seclusion will take. No matter how long it will take, our Imperial Thunder Sect will wait. Fairy Xianhua said with a smile. What a pity. This thunder-devouring bead was found by that child Qinghua. There is still no news from him. Qian Leizi sighed. As for that Xiao Hua who sent the thunder-devouring bead, there has been no news since he killed Qin Jian. I don't know if he can survive the war. Rest assured, Sect Master. Heaven helps the worthy. Martial nephew Qinghua is a man of great fortune. Otherwise, he wouldn't have found the thunder-devouring bead. He will definitely return to Sky Thunder Peak safely. Crazy Heaven Cultivator said with a smile. As for Xiao Hua, how can a cultivator who killed Qin Jian be an ordinary person? Although Xiao Hua is only a Foundation Establishment disciple, he is very clever. The moment he arrived at Sky Patrol City, he established a relationship with Li Zongbao from the Utopia faction. In the war, even if he can't kill the enemy, he can at least protect himself. Yes, during the last reward, Chen Mo said that he wasn't in Sky Patrol City, but was sending messages outside. I don't think he will go to the Sword Catacomb. Qian Leizi nodded and looked at Thunder Meng Immortal. The first team of your Imperial Thunder Sect is indeed extraordinary. I don't dare. It is all thanks to Sect Master's good judgment. Thunder Meng Immortal was happy and quickly smiled. Forget it. During this period of time, I will prepare to enter seclusion. You can deploy the troops. Qian Leizi waved his hand and said, Your mission is the same as Qian Mo's, which is to protect the lives of our Imperial Thunder Sect disciples. We understand. We will listen to Sect Master's orders. Miyu Immortal and Crazy Heaven Cultivator bowed and answered. Unexpectedly, as the Sect Master of the Imperial Thunder Sect, Qian Leizi still remembered Xiao Hua's first contribution when he joined the Imperial Thunder Sect decades ago. As for this contribution, perhaps even Xiao Hua himself had already forgotten about it. After all, the thunder-devouring bead was really far away from him. What he was thinking about now was the teleportation device of the Heavenly Demon Sect. Xiao Hua took advantage of Zhang Qingxiao's black jade arrow boat and set off towards Yellow Flower Ridge. After flying for a few days, he arrived at an extremely desolate place. In this desolate valley, under the snow-covered stone layer, there was a simple teleportation device. Walking out of this teleportation device, Xiao Hua flew towards a strange place. After a few days, he arrived at a secular town. On the east side of this town, in a large manor, under the lake full of lotus flowers, Xiao Hua followed Zhang Qingxiao into another teleportation device. After a few times, Xiao Hua actually arrived at the vicinity of Yellow Flower Ridge. Xiao Hua finally understood why Zhang Qingxiao was able to rush to Yellow Flower Ridge in an extremely short amount of time after receiving the message when he went to Yellow Flower Ridge to seek revenge. Similarly, he also understood why Zhang Qingxiao was able to find the sword tomb so easily. The Heavenly Fiend Sect's teleportation array clearly already surpassed the Cultivation 3 nations. Although the Heavenly Fiend Sect had yet to be established at this time, just based on this teleportation array alone, Xiao Hua faintly felt that the Heavenly Fiend Sect would dominate Dawn Rain continent sooner or later. Second senior brother, how did you arrange this teleportation device? Xiao Hua found an opportunity and asked after a short teleportation. Zhang Qingxiao looked at Xiao Hua unhappily and said, "This is my Heavenly Demon Sect's secret. If I was not in a hurry to take you to see junior sister, I would never let you know. Moreover, you can only use this teleportation device under my lead. As for how to arrange the teleportation device, don't even think about it." "Hehe, it's not that bad," Xiao Hua said with a smile. "Little brother has some attainments in the teleportation device. If second senior brother wants to know, little brother can be frank and honest. Besides, little brother still has the Grand Universe teleportation device. I presume second senior brother will also need to use it in the future, right?" You're tuning in to the Dreamy Chapters YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.